are live. So,
You get to
warned.
introduce yourself.
Be warned.
Thank you.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is Diane Black. I have been with this office for almost 13 years now, in various capacities. Up until last August, probably, I was the agent services coordinator, Allison Meliotis' job. Did that for about a year and a half. Prior to that, I was operations manager for a team here in the office. I'm an agent, working on my broker's license. God help me. When I first came to this office, I was actually working with a small team, and I had my own business. I did marketing and database management for small companies. So one of the teams hired me to help with their marketing and everything. I just kind of got sucked in, which is kind of funny because when I really kind of started working after college, I was working in the mortgage industry, and I had been in the mortgage industry about 10 years before that. So some wild stories from that one, but so anyway, so I've kind of seen both sides of the real estate world. You know, during my summers in college, I worked for a small real estate firm in Virginia, and this is like when you still had selectric typewriters to do your little flyers with, and you thought you were really cool because you could put a different ball in the typewriter and get a different font. I mean, that was cool. Yeah, we kind of moved forward from that. So anyway, so a while, probably longer than I want to admit to. So today's section is close the deal, and most of it is. There's a lot of process in here about how you handle a file once you have a contract and everything. But one of the other things I really want to emphasize throughout this session today is these are people who you have spent a lot of time with, you spent a lot of emotion on, you spent a lot of money on, maybe it's a listing. You've listened to heartaches, you've listened to, people just wigging out at 10 o'clock at night because, oh my God, I can't believe I'm spending this much money. So once you've had that kind of relationship with somebody, when you close and walk away, and you never come back, circle back to them, you've invested a lot of time and effort and then basically thrown away a huge resource for your future business. And I know other instructors have emphasized this too, but it's no more, during your whole closing process, I mean, it is a very intimate process. I mean, you're talking people's money, you're talking people's futures, you're talking people's, where they're going to be spending the next 10 years maybe, trying to figure out, is this the lifestyle they want to embrace? I mean, this is where they may be raising their children. I mean, it's a very intimate process. So, keeping all that in mind, to not follow up on that after that, to me is criminal. I mean, these are people that by the time you finished, and hopefully they know you, love you, and want to recommend you. But they just have to be reminded, because once they move into their house, I mean, they're picking drapes, they're getting, they're picking out furniture, they're selling schools. Unless you have a plan to stay top of mind, you're yesterday's news. So your job is to stay top of mind, so that when everybody thinks of real estate, they go, Emily or Colette. So that's the kind of, you want to have somebody that when they say, when they get all these postcards or they get all these phone calls from people going, no, I have a real estate agent, and you're it. So, given that, actually, there's a lot of reports in the front. Do y'all do any of this lead generation stuff at the beginning of classes?
Well, we did, but no.
We have typically no.
Okay. Well, then we'll just kind of skip over that. Let's go over to getting your head in the game.
Oh, are we supposed to be in our book?
You can. I mean, I'm just going to be casually following it, so don't get.
What section is it?
Section 11.
Oh, 11, okay,
Yeah,
thank
section
you.
11. Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Ralph.
It looks like it might be page 11. I don't know if the instructor guide might be a little bit different from yours.
Okay, yeah, that's it.
So basically, when you're getting ready, how many people in here have been on a closing from the agent side?
No, not from the agent side.
What do you mean? Oh,
You have. I mean, just from, representing a client at a closing. Okay, so,
Yes, I've represented client before,
okay.
but never a new agent. I buy and sell houses for like the last 10 years,
Right,
so I have done that.
okay. So, but not as an agent.
Correct. I've only had my license since mid-November.
Okay.
well, she has.
Yeah. I nodded.
Hands up, please. I'm very nearsighted. So anyway, so basically what you're trying to do in a closing, a successful closing is one, A, that closes. B, the process is smooth. We don't want a lot of bumps in the road if we can help it. And a lot of that, being able to help it, is being proactive in managing the process. And unfortunately, sometimes you have to manage the process from both sides, depending upon the agent on the other side. That's okay. They'll love you even more, that you went that extra mile to make it a seamless process for them. And of course, big number 3 is that you win future business. So, close, smooth business. It really is a project. Y'all seem like flow charts about, how something goes from, point A to point B, and all the little steps in between. Most closings follow the same general process. One of the things that kills me is when you think about all of the time that has been spent. This isn't
And it
helping.
is a lot of time nurturing these relationships.
Well, a lot of time and a lot of, sorry.
Point this and not the screen, and it'll work.
What?
If you point at this and not the screen, it should work.
Well, actually, this controls the PowerPoint, which is the little thing up here. Yeah, this controls that up there.
Okay, so that's in my university.
So this is actually pretty, this is not coming up on the screen. Okay, it's gonna be a little messy, but that's okay. First part of the real estate process is the hard focused work of making connections and achieving agreements. The second part is the wide-eyed diligent guardianship of the transaction until it makes a closing. Wide-eyed diligent guardianship translates into fiduciary relationship. Who can define the fiduciary relationship? Right. You're responsible for how somebody else spends their money, basically. A lot of agents forget that in the middle of it because they're thinking about their money. They're not thinking about their client's money.
See, that's not me.
And
That's
I'm
why I'm
glad.
never successful in real estate. I'm always thinking about them first.
But it's a lot of money. I mean, a lot of first-time agents, that first closing is panic-inducing because all of a sudden, when you write that contract and everybody's signed it, you sit down and you look at that number and it's $385,000 and you're thinking, oh my goodness, $300,000. What if I screw it up? And it's, it really kind of hits you really hard that at that point that's a huge responsibility. So in order to keep that keep this thing going, on rails here, is knowing the process, having systems in place. A system is not a manila folder that you stuff papers into, okay? A system is knowing what your next step is, knowing what the 5 steps down the road is, being able to anticipate that step. Being able to say, okay, this is how it's gonna happen, and then getting it to closing, and then of course, getting paid, which is the whole point, right? You all probably seen this contract close process yet? Have they been showing
No.
them copy of?
Uh-uh.
Yes?
I
No,
haven't been able to see
no.
clearly.
Okay.
We've talked about it. That's on page 15.
Oh, yeah, I see it though, thank you.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, one of the things about the whole process is that when you think about it, this one transaction is probably the result of you probably touching almost 200 people. Because how many leads does it take to get a live, warm body going?
10?
How many?
I don't know, 10.
10 leads? Very warm leads. What about just cold call leads and stuff like that?
100.
200? Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, just, for example, if you had, solo leads. But, but if you had like, a constant stream of leads, you'll probably go through 200 or 300 of them before you get a couple that actually, are serious about, buying a house sometime in the next 3 months. That's a lot of time that you spent getting that one person. And then when you got that person, you've probably spent another, 6 to 12 weeks with them looking for a house, making offers on houses, getting a house, getting the contract in. I mean, that is, when you think about it, that one person represents like 200 people that you've gone through. I mean, that is a lot of investment. So, this person is golden and should be treated as such. Your process, basically, in terms of this class, the whole process starts with an offer. You find a house. It's a perfect house. Let's make an offer. Writing a contract. So you all been through the contracts already, right?
Uh-huh.
Making an offer. So what are the 3 things that can happen with an offer?
Accept, reject, or
Counter.
counter.
Okay. So either the seller will go, oh, what a great offer, I'll take it. They'll go, are you crazy? No, I'm not letting this house go for that. And okay, there's some wiggle room here. Let's see if we can come to an agreement. So that's when you come back and forth to your counter offers. Very nerve-wracking, both for you and for the client. It really helps in this process. I mean, even throughout the entire process, but especially in the contract to close process, especially if you've got a first-time home buyer or somebody who hasn't bought a house in like 15 years. And the only thing they remember about their last process was they went out, saw a couple of houses, wrote a 3-page contract, and they were done. Is keeping people informed of the next step. That's always how I finish almost every conversation on the phone. It's like, all right, and the next thing that's going to be happening is, after this, we'll be doing blah, blah, blah. Always keeping them informed about what the next step is, keeping it moving forward. For example, yesterday we had a due diligence period, had ended successfully. Thank you. And the client was all excited. Oh yeah, okay. When is the closing? And I said, back up. Now we've got an appraisal, process. And to be honest, the appraisal might be a little dicey. And she knows it. And, but she's kind of forgotten that. I said, they've got 14 days, to have their appraisal done. Once they get the appraisal, then we'll, we can move forward with financing. And they're like, what could happen? And I said, well, it may not appraise. We discussed this. You have very aggressive pricing for this neighborhood. And she says, well, but I've got a contract. Yeah, but the bank is loaning money on it. So the bank wants a property that, is market value. And if they have an appraisal that says it's not, they're not gonna loan on the full amount. So anyway, I probably scared her again, now she's like, but, the next process is, the next part of the process is the appraisal. So they'll be coming out and doing an appraisal, blah, blah. Okay, so, but that kind of keeps them focused on what the next part is. Because what I don't want to do is say, yay, we got your due diligence, and then 2 weeks later go, oh, sorry, you didn't appraise, you're going to have to give more money, or they're not going to close at this price, or whatever. And so that they could spend 2 weeks now thinking about the appraisal. They'll probably come back with a couple of questions, like, well, what if it doesn't appraise? Will they read that so much? But it's, don't let them sit in ignorance. I guess is what my main point is. So once you get through an acceptance process, you get the acceptance from 2 areas here, after counteroffers and after, a straight acceptance. Counteroffers can go on and on and on. Good morning. Counteroffers can go on and on and on. They used to be, a long time ago, they used to be numbered. Counteroffer 1, 2, 3, 4, and you could go up to like 7 or 8. And the fellows said, forget that. We don't want to keep up with all the counteroffers. If they didn't accept them, it doesn't matter. Because it's not part of the contract. So now it's just a counteroffer. The counteroffer may be going back and forth, hopefully not too much. But usually, most counteroffers, you'll have at least 1, possibly 2. I think the most I've had is like 6. But
That's a
I've
lot
heard.
of paperwork.
Well, not really, because the counteroffer form, the only thing you're countering on a counteroffer form are the parts of the contract that you want to change. You don't have to fill it all out over and over again.
So, I've been doing this for a while, but mine is selling property, and new to real estate agency, and so I was working with a real estate agent to buy a property for a buyer.
Okay.
And I said, hey, can we work out the details, get them all worked out on text, and just do the paperwork once? And she said, great with that idea. Is that something that you do, or is that something that you don't do, or verbal offers, and then once they get the details worked out, put it in writing and go?
A verbal offer is worth the paper it's written on.
Of course it is.
But, certainly, ideally, you write the offer and you submit it. Because that way you have an offer on the table that is a bona fide offer, signed, sealed, delivered, with the good graces of the Georgia Real Estate Commission. And you're protected in case there's any kind of misunderstandings. Well, you said $5,000 in closing costs. What happened to $5,000? I'm only getting $500. But no, I said $500. No, well, you have no written, you might have text, but sometimes texts are permissible, sometimes they're not, depending upon how, they're coded in your phone. So, if you're gonna make an offer in writing. That's your job, guys. Negotiating, yeah, but, you could call an agent, beforehand, go, if you had any offers? No. Yes, I've got 7 on the table right now. Okay, well, so now you're in a multiple offer situation. But as far as saying, hey, would your client take $325,000? They can't speak for their client. They're their agent. They're not their mother. And so, the only thing that you can really get a clear response on is if you give them a written, offer, and then they respond. Now, the response may be crickets. You give it to them, there's a deadline on that offer, because you don't want an open-ended offer just sitting up there for, years.
Right.
You have an offer that has a time limit of maybe 24 to 48 hours. That time limit, once that time limit's gone, the offer's dead. And sometimes you have to address that if they were on vacation, or they just didn't get back in time, or the agent was on vacation and couldn't get, whatever. You can fix it, but for the most part, once the time limit of the offer has expired, the offer's dead. You don't have an offer anymore.
Would you suggest contacting the agent before you send your counter over? To say, hey, I'm gonna send over the counter. Are you in a place where you can receive it?
I always let them know that something's coming.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
An offer, a counter offer.
Okay.
Try not to get into the details too much. Let them look at it first and read it, and then Or I might say, you know, if I'm sending a counter offer for, I'll let them know, hey, we're sending a counter over, we'll have it over there this afternoon. My cover letter might have, you know, details as to why we're countering the way we are. For example, we had one that was probably $40,000 over the rest of the properties in the neighborhood, and it wasn't all that in a stick of butter. It was just a house that needed a little work, you know, but it, you know, they had an inflated, you know, sense of the value of the property, and they threw it out there and they said, oh, let's see if somebody bites. So when we came in, it was $40,000 under. But I had all my comps, and I said, here are the comps I'm using. If you had any other comps that you used to come up with this value, I would love to see them. Very polite, you know, just, you know, very, you know, let's work together on this. I really want to come to a middle ground here, but, you know, I'm not seeing this, okay? So hopefully they'll, you know, come back and forth. Sometimes they'll say, no, that's the price I want, and then that's when you walk away. Or it's up to your client, really. I mean, if they really love the house and the location is perfect, then it's, you know, a mile away from their, you know, the best school in the world. So, you know, for them it might be worth it. I mean, you can't really, sometimes you really can't know what the motivation is until they, you know, start negotiating like that. So, once they go through, you know, an acceptance process where everybody agrees on all the terms and everything, did y'all see a counteroffer form?
Yes.
Yeah, we found out yesterday.
We saw it yesterday. Did he give us one?
Did he? Okay.
So the counteroffer form is, you know,
RJ,
She said
RJ gave us one.
okay, so it's basically a 2-page form, and the only thing on the counteroffer form that you're filling out are the things that you're changing.
Okay.
For example, you don't repeat all the information that's on the contract. If you decide you want to use a different closing attorney, that's the closing attorney put in. If you want a different price, that's the change you put in. Because it's exhausting to go through the entire thing, and people are going to make mistakes. You know, when you're transcribing information from one to the other. I mean, $10,000 in closing costs can become $1,000 in closing costs very easily.
Can you remind me, is that counter sheet added as an exhibit to the original?
It actually goes in the front because it overlays the purchase and sale. And when they sign that counteroffer, they don't sign the purchase and sale. Right. Because if they sign the purchase and sale, they're agreeing to all the terms of the purchase and sale. But the terms have changed, and that's what counteroffer documents.
And on FMLS, I used old counter forms and it came back to haunt me. So be sure to use the ones on my KW
The 2020.
or the command.
Yeah, always kind of glance at the bottom, make sure you're using, you know, 2020 forms. Especially this time of year, a lot of your disclosures, you know, especially if the house has been sitting on the market for a while, might be 2019. Might be worth kind of looking at and make sure, you know, one of the clauses you might ask is that they have it redone on 2020 forms. That was a big deal about 3 years ago when they redid the community association disclosure. Because at that point, the seller had no skin in the game as far as giving you correct information. So if they forgot to tell you, oh, there's a $1,000 initiation fee, which is a big deal to a lot of buyers, then too bad, you know, buyers stuck with it. But they had a revision that said if the seller does not disclose it properly, the seller is responsible for it. So all of a sudden, the sellers got really careful about filling the form, which is a good thing. I had one client, you know, bad on me, that's it, but they had been the president of the HOA, you know, for years, and they were filling it out. I said, "Is this right? You know, I thought there was a initiation fee." And they said, "Oh no, there's not." "Are you sure?" "Yes, I'm absolutely sure." Okay. I didn't call the HOA to double check it. I should have, because it was $1,000. And we didn't find out about it until they were getting ready for closing. And the closing attorney called me and says, "Oh, by the way, just, you know, heads up, we're having to put $1,000 on your client because they didn't disclose the initiation fee." I'm like, okay. So I called him, I said, yeah, just FYI, you're gonna have an extra $1,000 on that because there's an issue. There is not. And I said, if there isn't, talk to the HOA because the HOA is saying there is. And then he comes back, he goes,
Oh,
they put it in, a couple of years ago, I didn't notice it. They live there, they don't notice those things. They see this stuff from the HOA and, did my fees go up? Okay, great. And they don't read the rest of it. And they don't care if there's an initiation fee because they're already there. So, all of a sudden, now there's an initiation fee. And so, guess who had to pay the initiation fee?
so double check everything.
Well, just, I send an email to the HOA, getting in contact with it, and I just say, can you please confirm this information? And I just do it real quick. About 60% of the time, they'll come back and say, yeah, that's right, or no, this is wrong. We had a price increase that went up. It's just, I've got a canned email for that. I just shoot it off to them, and it's easy and quick, and it kind of, saves my bacon now. Lesson learned. I will pass it. So anyway, you get down to acceptance, and then comes the really big fun part of it. Yes, I'm sorry. Oh, no. Okay. It's the inspection. So you have a due diligence period. What's the average due diligence period of this market right now?
7 to 14 days?
7 to 14.
10 to 14.
I've seen some as few as 5. I've seen some as many as 30 days, depending on the property. I've had some old historic houses that had to have specialized inspections for slate roofs, and there's only one guy in the state that can do it, and he's backed up for 3 weeks.
Oh, Lord.
So, kind of keep in mind the house, if there's going to be any special things. But generally, 7 to 14 days. If you have a house that has multiple offers, you're probably going to want to shave it as much as you can. And sometimes I even make the appointment for the inspection even before the contract is approved, because that gets me 2 or 3 days ahead. And if I can come in and say, hey, I am, I've already gotten the inspection schedule, so inspection will start on day 1. We're not going to have to wait 3 to 4 days for the inspector to come out. Yeah, little edge, but sometimes just that little edge can help, on the process. Then the other agent knows, oh, this is somebody that's on top of it. I can work with this person. Or they might think I'm unbearably pushy and don't work with me or whatever. But once you get the inspection in, now I get a question a lot of times. Do I go to the inspection?
Of course.
It
Yes.
would be a good idea.
Yes, it would be a good idea, absolutely. It's very difficult for you to write a amendment to address concerns if you have not seen the concerns. That doesn't mean you have to go to the entire 3-hour inspection. What I usually do is I show the last hour. At that point, the inspector's he's crawled up on the roof, he's crawled under the base, he's crawled in the crawl space, he's been in the attic. He's done all the heavy lifting at that point. So I come in last hour and I said, what are my big rocks here? And he'll go, okay, there's this, and he'll show me this. So I can see it with my own eyes. Sometimes a buyer's eyes, see something and the price of the fix, triples. Whereas it's really, a couple $100, to replace the baseboard. Okay, fine. HVAC, he can show you what he's talking about, so that when the HVAC people come out and say, this is what we're looking to, fix. If there's a plumbing issue, I had one where casual glance at the pipes, pipes are white. Okay, good, moving on. The inspector comes back, he goes, you realize they painted all the polyethylene pipes white, don't you?
Oh, no. You're kidding me. I had polybutylene, and before I moved her to the house, I had it all replaced with PEX.
Well, these people had painted the polyethylene pipes.
That's crazy.
And so it got to the cabinet, but he had his flashlight and he looked back there and he saw the great pipe and he looked, scraped off the paint and he goes, yep. So, thank God for inspectors. You are not an inspector. You might be, I don't know. Most of us are not inspectors. Don't try to tell an inspector how to do their job. I mean, if you have questions about it, absolutely. If you have concerns, say like, I'm worried about the water stain in the closet, always look in the closet. That's what the water stains always are. That's, you're worried about the water stain, you're worried about the settlement, there's a crack in the basement, you're not sure if that's a settlement crack or if that's an issue. Is this a structural crack or a settlement crack? You don't know, unless you're a structural engineer. So try really hard not to say, oh, that's just a settlement crack, don't worry about it. Not your job. And it will come back to bite you. Well, you said it was just a settlement. Yeah. Let the inspector do his job. Let the inspector, deliver any bad news. Now, a lot of times the inspector will say, you need a structural engineer to look at this, because he knows his limitations. He's an inspector. He may not be an engineer. Or I would have a roof guy look at, the flashings around these two windows because I think that's where the leak is coming from. But it's a sunny day. I have no idea. So sometimes they'll actually recommend, further inspection on items because they can't give you a solid response on the severity of it. Funny story. My house had a water leak in the basement. Okay, the basement has water leaks. So, but we couldn't get it stopped. I mean, we kept doing things, and the basement was carpeted, and finally we had a big rainstorm, a lot of water, and then the water heater burst. Yay, that was a great week. So, water heater, water all over the floor, carpet's ruined. So they're rolling up the carpet, and there's this crack going from one end of the room to the other across the back, and we're like, what the heck? I mean, they say if you could put a quarter in it, it's something significant. I mean, you could have stuck a whole $5 bill in there. Big crack. And it was actually back of my house falling down a hill because of the weight of the fireplaces was pulling it, and apparently just enough so that L of the house cracked straight across. So, thank you, Atlas Pierce. But we would never have known that, if we hadn't pulled the carpet up. But it ended up not being a settlement. It was actually a structural issue. So.
Is that covered by your homeowners?
That one wasn't, no.
So what'd you do?
Pay $50,000 for Pierce.
My Lord.
8 years. Yeah. Christmas was a little slim that year. That was my Christmas present. So anyway, inspection. It is very rare that you have an inspection that everything goes perfectly on and that you walk away and everybody's like, oh, this is the perfect house, there's not a thing wrong with it. There are some inspectors who make it their mission in life to find something wrong. And kind of what you're paying them for, to kind of identify areas of concern.
The deal killer.
And off record, we'll discuss that. But there's, if you're working with a quality inspection firm, they're not going to scare the homeowner, they're just going to inform them. And hopefully the homeowner's there too during this inspection, because a good home inspector is going to say, here's your water turn-off valve, here's this, here's that. They're going to be pointing out features of the house that the homeowner's going to want to know about, or if there's anything quirky about the way the water heater was put in, or just kind of little quirky things. So a lot of homeowners, especially first-time homeowners, learn a lot about their house before they even move into it, which is good. usually there's going to be, and preparing them ahead of time, that their inspection report's going to be about 50 pages long. That freaks people out.
It does.
I mean, when I bought my house 30 years ago, the inspection report was 1 page, carbon copy. You know, they check, yeah, I looked at it, it's fine. Now, you know, thank you to cameras, they're taking pictures of every corner, every cobweb, every, you know, leak, every, you know, rust spot, and documenting it in, you know, glorious color. So, an inspection report that is really in actuality only about 6 pages long ends up being 50 pages long because of all the pictures. So tell them ahead of time, you know, when you get your inspection report, don't freak out when you see it's 57 pages long. It's not 57 pages of problems. And most of them are not problems, they're things to be aware of, things that may need future maintenance. They may say, water heater is 9 years old. You know, a new homeowner might go, 9 years old, I'm not going to need to replace it. What's the life expectancy of a water heater? You know, what, 12 to 15 years?
Yeah.
You know, maybe. The one that I had that burst, 25 years. There you go. And then $15,000 damage. But, you know, what we try to do is we try to focus a buyer on things that can be remedied that are safety or structural issues. You know, things that can, you know, the house will either burn up or fall down. Repainting the living room is not an inspection issue. You know, repainting, putting up my closet system. I had somebody actually want that one time. It's like, no, that's not an inspection issue. I cannot have California closets come in and put new closets in because you don't like the old closet. So we try to limit them to things. You know, we encourage them to only look at things that either the house is going to either burn or fall down on. Electrical issues are huge. I mean, I'm all over those. And if they've got a circuit board that's overheating on a breaker that's, you know, controlling the HVAC unit, you know, yeah, I'm all over that. If there are plumbing issues, you know, where you may end up with a flood, you know, upstairs in the basement because these valves aren't working properly. Roof. I'd like to know that the roof is going to stay there.
That's
It's a
great.
key factor.
Stay, roof, stay.
Well, South Florida, it's not a given sometimes.
I was just saying, I sold on the coast, and that's definitely not a given.
Just depends where you live, you know. You know, and you know, people get sellers get really, you know, possessive about their roofs. You know, the roof is fine. I never had any problem with it. Why don't I replace it? Oh, you know, or fix part of it or whatever. Structural issues. You know, is that crack a settlement crack? Is that crack a structural crack? You know, you're walking through the house, you know, this crack in the drywall, is that a settlement crack or is that a sign of something bigger? The doors are crooked compared to the floor. Is that a bad workmanship on the part of the construction company or is that the floor is settled? You know, do you know? I don't know. So try to keep the inspection, you know, realistic. Because once the seller has been informed of these defects, they have to disclose them to, you know, the next person if you all don't end up closing. So, and sometimes that's just kind of like well, I'm not going to fix it. Well, somebody's going to fix it eventually. You're going to be paying for it either in a lower cost of the house or you'll be paying for the repair. Either way, it's going to get paid for. Yeah, but they're hoping that some unicorn will drop out of the sky and offer them $50,000 more than it's worth.
No unicorns.
So anyway, then we have what we call the amendment to address concerns, because we are concerned about the fact that the HVAC hasn't been serviced in 10 years. We are concerned about the fact that there are huge water puddles under 3 sinks. We are concerned about the fact that the breakers in the circuit board are probably a different brand from the actual circuit board. You know, were they put in secondary? Are they when they took a heat picture of the circuit board, 3 breakers, bright red. That's a no-no. We don't want circuit breakers, or readings like that. That's the whole point of a circuit breaker. And yeah,
So you sit down with the buyer and go line item by line item over that whole 150-page inspection?
they get the inspection, look it over. I read it. I mean, after a while, you get pretty good at figuring out what parts you can kind of skip over. Like if he's taking pictures of, yes, the faucet works because it's got water running out of it. I can skip over that part, but I kind of good. Most of the companies will give you a key findings report. So there'll be a big report, and there'll be a smaller, like 15, 20 page
critical
report.
items.
That are the critical items. Those are the ones I really focus on. I'll look at the other ones because there may be baseboard issues, there may be wood rot issues and stuff. Those might not be key findings. Key findings may be, water heater is leaking, maybe HVAC system didn't come on, things like that. So going over that with the buyer, I would let them know things that I would be concerned about. But that's all you can really do is advise. I mean, they may come back with 50 items that need to be fixed. And kind of going through that with a reminding them we're not trying to redecorate the house. We're just trying to make it livable here. And just kind of going through it, step by step, and going, this isn't something that is a reasonable request. They may still make it anyway. You can't, and then the seller will just come, right, and move on. But trying to create a realistic amendment to address concerns is challenging, and it's a huge negotiation exercise. This is where your negotiation skills really come into play.
Because then you got to figure out how much it's going to cost to fix all these things, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why you want to get your inspection as soon as possible, because you want to give yourself time to do that.
Mhm.
Some inspection companies will offer like a estimated cost on some of these things. There's another one, Brian Lowenthal at Home Handyman. If you send him the inspection report and say, can you give me costs on items 5, 7, 9, 11, 47, 73? Next day I'll get an email going, 200, 300, 1,500 to 2,000, depending upon blah, blah, blah. It kind of gives you a ballpark figure so that when you walk into that negotiation for the amendment, you do have facts on your side.
That's right. Did you say Brian Leventhal?
Lowenthal.
Lowenthal, Lowenthal.
Yeah, his website is athomehandyman.com.
Okay.
He's got a big team, lot of agents who use him. So,
Thank you.
so 2 things. At this point, this is your first big roadblock in a closing. Is it going to get past due diligence or not? That's why that's one of the key dates that is on a FMLS listing. Is that how long the due diligence period is. So if you're sitting here waiting in the wings for hoping this person's going to walk so you can pounce on it for your client, that you're kind of keeping an eye on it. And it's been known. I mean, I've called agents, sometimes, during due diligence, and I can say, I've got somebody who's interested in a backup. How's your due diligence going? And they go, please send us a due diligence. Because they have a buyer who's asking for 47 things. And if they have a backup, and if you're representing the seller and you've got a backup, in your pocket, you can be a little bit more aggressive on what you will and will not fix. So, especially if somebody wanted the house so bad that they gave it to you they waived due diligence and it's an all-cash deal with no appraisal.
Like an investor would.
So,
Yeah.
who are they going to deal with? Are they going to deal with somebody who's asking for $5,000 worth of repairs on a $125,000 house, or are they going to just deal with somebody who's just going to pay them cash in 2 weeks?
That's kind of what happened to me on one deal a couple of months ago. I was, listing agent, and we received an offer, and the buyer needed some closing costs, first-time buyer. And so I said, sure, I'll pay $5,000. And then the next day, we got a full-price offer from an investor, no appraisal, no due diligence, no nothing. you know, ready to close in 10 days. So, anyway, I tried to get out of that first deal, but we couldn't.
You can't, I mean, you can't.
Yeah.
But it's a, I mean, I've got one in court right now because he's trying to get out of the deal. And it's like, no dude, you're committed. But he'd rather pay the lawyer $7,500 than to just pay the $300 and move on. But it's okay, it's his money.
Yeah.
So
that's what it has to be.
People get funny about money.
I mean, and you know, because, but then they say it's the principle of the thing, you just, start writing zeros after them. It's like, okay, fine. But I'm not a liar, so it's like, okay, fine, let me know what the lawyers work out, so. So they can, so an amendment to address concerns can be rejected. They can also counter. They can say, yes, I'll do this, but I won't do that. Or I'll do this if you reduce the amount needed at closing. Because, the seller might be, tight on money. A lot of times sellers are. I mean, I've got, a seller right now who's like, in this day and age, she's going to bring money at closing. But she took a large second mortgage out. And the second mortgage had inflated the appraisal price. So she's kind of underwater a little bit. So, so they, she may not be able to make those changes. I mean, just, financially unable to do it. And that's the reality. Sometimes they can, they can't. So hopefully, once you got through all of the due diligence period, everybody kind of goes, oh, thank goodness. And they think, okay, it's clear sailing from here.
Appraisal.
What's the next issue?
Title.
Financing, appraisal.
Appraisal,
Yeah,
which is part of the
then
financing. You got an all-cash deal, and they've waived the appraisal, you are basically good to go at this point. However, if they are getting financing, then we start the next round of headaches, which is the appraisal. I don't know how many of you are familiar with how the markets melted down in 2007, 2008. If you're new agents, you may not be familiar with it. Basically, a lot of mortgage companies were very aggressive in their marketing, and a lot of the appraisals were kind of like, how much do you need it to be? Okay, no problem. Not really representing a true market value, inflated market value. And banks started losing money. And then the securities that were backing up those mortgages started losing money, and then everything just started kind of. So banks are a little bit more careful now about the appraisals, and they've put in some safeguards to keep banks from using, oh, Joe the appraiser, he'll give me whatever value I need type thing. So what happens now is that if you go to a mortgage company, if you went to Certainty, and they had to order an appraisal, they'd say, okay, fine, I'll let the appraisal company know. What they do is they call it appraisal clearinghouse. And the idea is that the appraisal clearinghouse sends an appraiser out, and they kind of act as a buffer between the bank and the appraiser. That's the theory. Reality is, if I'm a seller, if I'm representing a seller, I tell the seller to pull the lockbox inside, because I want to know when that appraiser is going to that house, and I want to meet him there, because I want to give him my comps to show why. Don't tell the appraiser how to do his job. Everybody hates being told how to do their job, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're professional. I know how to do this. I've got this. However, when the appraiser calls me and to set up the appointment, I'm going to chat with it. I'm going to be real sweet. Oh, hi. You do a lot of appraisals in this area? No, I usually work out in, Lithonia. Well, you're in Dunwoody. Yeah. Or you're in a part of East Cobb that's around Walton School District, where the prices are automatically, jacked up, $25,000, $30,000. Have you done any in this area before? No. Okay, great, thanks. I hang up, call back, and say, ask for another appraiser. I don't want him appraising this property.
Can you do that? Wow.
And I'll just say that he's not familiar with the area. There are special circumstances in this area that an appraiser needs to be aware of. 9 times out of 10, they'll just assign another one. And that one you pretty much have to take. You can't shop, 15 different appraisers and take it one you like. But, ask the question, are you familiar with this area? Yeah, oh yeah. There's like some people that, do nothing but Sandy Springs and Dunwoody. Or, they know East Cobb like the back of their hand. But if the guy, works out of Monroe or,
Conyers or something.
like that, they may not be aware of, some of the forces that are driving market prices.
School
in these areas.
districts and.
Yeah, I mean, look at Walton and Wheeler. I mean, they're right next to each other. What happens to a house in Walton? What happens to a house in Wheeler? I mean, it's just, everybody wants to be in Walton. So that's, that drives the prices. If he's looking at Wheeler, if there's like a neighborhood like right around Set Creek Elementary. On the right-hand side is Wheeler, on the left-hand side is Walton. I mean, you think that the houses would be congruent. So you have to be careful to be doing appraisals, to be doing comparisons with that school in mind.
Yep.
And just, you have.
Built the same time frame and everything
Well,
else.
the same builder.
Yeah.
The same floor plan.
Yeah.
But because it's in
$30,000 or $40,000
Walton, I mean, you're
difference.
looking at another $25,000-$30,000. So,
I have a question. So, say that the house, well, when you made an offer, the house was valued higher than it was appraised for. What happens then?
Well, first of all, they didn't know what the appraisal was when they valued it, so it was a market. It may have been a multiple offer situation where everybody got, auction happy and, bid it up. One of the things, we'll talk about that in a second, as far as what happens when the appraisal doesn't meet value. As a seller's agent, I go out there and I meet that appraiser. I may even ask him if he wants me to bring him coffee. I am friendly, and I have a folder that has the comps that I use. Helpful. The reason I use this one is because they finished their basement last year. It has a bar, it has a sauna, it has blah blah blah. This one has hardwood floors. This one doesn't upstairs. I mean, I've looked at these houses. I know what these houses look like. I know the inside. He doesn't. All he's working from is pictures on MLS.
Yeah.
And I can tell him that there was a sale that's not, that may not have shown up in the tax. It was a private sale that didn't show up in the tax records. But it had been on the market, 4 months ahead of time. So here are the pictures of that house. So I'm so helpful because I really want to maintain that value. It's a fine line though. You cannot cross that line and say this is what the value should be. That's not your job. That's his job.
Jessica did that on the sale of my house last month. She had barrels blazing, packet, because the comparable was 30 minutes away and coming, and I lived in Alpharetta. So,
I mean, you have to.
it appraised to the penny of what the asking price was.
As long as you can make your case.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I had one appraiser that actually tell me, they said, as long as it kind of falls within that area that on the tax records where it says estimated value between 629 and 649 or something like that, as long as it kind of falls in there, they can usually work with it. I mean, it's the ones that, it's $130,000 condo, and it appraises for 120, and you've got like 6 comps, between 128 and 140. That's like, how'd you get that one? Oh, guess what? He used comps in a building that doesn't have amenities. This building has every amenity known to man. And just because you get that appraisal and you may not agree with the value doesn't mean that you're powerless. At that point, you can ask for a review from the underwriter. You can say, this is why I
They
disagree
don't
with.
change very often though.
No.
I've had the experience where they haven't changed and it's just been like super frustrating.
It is frustrating.
Yeah.
Sometimes they do.
Yeah.
I mean, we have had them. We came in and we said we don't think that these comps are good comps because this one is 3 miles away and there's 4 other comps around in the neighborhood.
Yeah. I usually leave a packet with my comps, and then I just right on there, because I've never met an appraiser at a property, but I'll leave, you know, for the appraiser, it's on the kitchen counter, so they walk in, oh, what's this? And then comps, this comp has this comp has
Right.
this comp has this.
Exactly.
Please match my upgrades to their upgrades. Here are some comps that don't have those upgrades. So I kind of lay it out of
Perfect,
hey,
yes.
hey, look, here's your ammunition. I've done all your work for you. All you got to do is input these comps, and you should.
It stops just short of telling you you didn't.
Of course, yeah. Now I never tell them what the value is.
Otherwise, they
but-
get their back up,
Yeah.
and then it's like, okay, you know, you're dead.
I never tell them what the value is, but these houses all been upgraded and have granite and
Right.
hardwoods.
You're just-
These houses don't. Look at the difference in the price. My house has granite and, you know, and hardwoods.
Yeah. Here's how we came up with our value. Just it's sweet and informative. You know,
Yeah.
Just helpful.
Yeah, and I put little sticky notes on each.
Yeah, I mean, you did a lot of work coming up with those comps,
Mhm.
so you know, show your work. But you can appeal because sometimes appraisers just make mistakes. I mean, they did a plus. I mean, I found one time that and this is from my mortgage background when I used to review appraisals all day long. You know, I was looking and going, what's he adding value for this? And across the board, he had added value for something rather than subtracting the value, because it should have been, you have to kind of think backwards on some of this stuff. But he had added, and I kind of got to, but why is he adding value for a smaller property? And the loan officer says, I said, can I talk to the underwriter? No, but at least, can you please ask the underwriter to look at this? They're very specific. And guess what? I got an appraisal. The bank paid for it.
Awesome.
Win.
Definitely a win.
I have a question. Have you ever had the situation, let's say it doesn't appraise, and then you appeal, and then nothing really happens? Maybe they come off $5,000 or something like that.
Sure.
Yes.
Then what I've had to do is actually, I got my seller to offer the buyer to have them apply for a loan with someone else and get a new appraisal order, and they would pay for the cost of the new appraisal.
Wow. Well, you're lucky you went to stick with him.
Yeah.
Usually,
Well, they really wanted the house, but it was, the appraisal was so, it was like $30,000 off. So it was the benefit of the seller to say,
Good,
let's
because-
go ahead and, what can we do?
well, you're lucky the seller didn't have a backup offer in his pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Too bad, so sad, moving on.
And we're lucky to even be able to talk to an appraiser here, because in Texas, you cannot as a realtor.
Well, because they're trying to avoid what happened, 13 years ago. So usually when an appraisal comes in a little wonky, you have several choices. If you got a $200,000 condo and it came in at $190,000, you got a $10,000 difference. So your first question to your buyer is, do you want to pay the difference? You know, that $10,000 difference. You know, first time home buyer probably doesn't have money unless it was, inherited a bunch of money from his grandmother. But, so, he may love this condo, but no, he doesn't love it another $10,000 more. Sometimes you can get a agreement between the buyer and the seller to, have it, I'll pay $5,000, you pay $5,000, you come down with $5,000. And sometimes if you knew that the appraisal was just, if the value was just way wonky anyway. And some agents play this game, it's kind of a dangerous game, going, oh, well, yeah, I'll bid, we'll write an offer for $250,000, we know it's only worth $220,000, but we'll get him at the appraisal. You may, you may not. You don't know if he's got a cash offer in his back pocket. Do you really want to spend that much time on this? Probably not.
I'm not following you, I'm sorry, can you say that again?
So for example, if this condo is on the market for $250,000 and it was only worth $220,000, it was a $30,000 difference, and you did your comps and you could tell that the price is going to be somewhere between $220,000 and $230,000, but you went ahead and offered $245,000 because it was a multiple offer situation. Your buyer really wanted it really badly, and you just figured, okay, well when the appraisal comes in, we'll counter on the appraisal. Well, you might
I
get
see.
you might get an appraiser who thinks that maybe it's actually worth $245. Or you might get, a seller who goes, well, you know, appraiser's crazy, I'm not selling it for, you know, $230 or whatever. But try not to play that game too much, because it will come back and bite you sometimes. And you've wasted a lot of time, your seller's wasted inspection money, appraisal money, you know, trying to get to that point, and, you know, you're at a point where you can't come to an agreement because the difference is too wide.
Does the appraiser have more flexibility during the purchase or during a refi?
It is my experience that refi appraisals tend to be higher than sales appraisals.
Okay.
Case in point, we have a contract right now. She had it appraised in November for refi, and the condo appraised at $342. There wasn't a single comp forever that got anything more than $315. But she had this appraisal. But we're like, you know, so the appraisals for refis tend to be a lot more lax than the ones for market value.
Okay.
Which I think is kind of odd, because since they're in secondary position after the first mortgage, you'd think they want to make even more sure that value is there. Weird, huh? Anyway, so they're usually for HELOCs and stuff like that. You know, second mortgages to, you know, consolidate bills or whatever. But and some banks are a lot stricter than others on refis. But yeah, I find that the refis tend to be kind of higher than the ones.
That's what I've heard before, and I just wanted to get your take on it.
Yeah, I think it's true. So, you know, once you get through all the, you know, angst of, you know, most appraisals will come in and they'll be fine. You know, just move on. If you're the buyer, you do not have to come back. Do not come back to the seller and go, our appraiser came in $10,000 more than we're paying. You know, don't do that. It just ticks everybody off. I mean, the only thing that you have to tell the seller is that we came in at value. We met value. Everybody's happy. Your buyer's really happy. But, you know, and warn them, you know, when they go to closing, don't say, guess what, the appraisal came in for like $10,000 more. I got a real deal. That's not going to make the seller feel good.
Yeah. Leaving money on the table?
That's not going to, you know, the seller is suddenly going to be, you know, obnoxious, you know, from there on out. Well, you're making $10,000 more than you're paying, so, you know, I'm not giving you a penny. I'm not conceding anything. Well, appraisal net value. We had a client that did that one time. It was just like you're like kicking them under the table. And after the closing, you know, it was just this weird, like, you know, I won, you lost. You know, it wasn't a win-win mentality. It was like you know, I beat you, and it's not constructive. You know, this is, you know, we're trying to get everybody happy when they leave the closing table. You know, happy people. We like happy people. So once you get the appraisal, hopefully at this point they've already done all the credit checks, and they've done the buyer's, you know, tax returns, and they've verified employment, and they've verified source of funds, and they're just waiting for that appraisal just to, you know, plug in as the final piece of the puzzle. At least if you're working with a good lender, sometimes you get a lender that, oh, the appraisal came out, okay, now I can start working on the rest of it. That's the difference between a pre-approval and a pre-qualification. Pre-qualification just takes numbers and go, yeah, it looks like it's going to work out. A pre-approval, they have verified income, they've verified employment, they've verified credit. Do please tell your clients, yes, I know you want nice furniture for your house. Yes, I know you need a new car. Yes, I know you want to, you know, just hold off until an hour after closing. Go pick it out. Tell them you'll come by and pick it up the day of closing. But do not pay for it. Do not open a credit card. Do not open don't get a new car loan. Don't go down to Rooms to Go and rack up $15,000 worth of furniture. Don't even open a Nordstrom's card. Okay, just don't. Your credit is frozen. Don't you're not buying anything except a house. So just chill. And people do it. I mean, they completely forget that their credit is under scrutiny. Up until closing, they'll run a credit check at the last minute just to make sure. Funny story. I had a closing in Miami, and at that point we were doing everything by paper and by telephone. But one of the things we always did was an appointment check right before closing. So Mr. and Mrs. Smith was buying this, pretty condo in a real snooty area called Doral. And so picked up the phone, hi, Mr. Smith's employer, and go, hi, just calling to confirm employment for Mr. Smith. There's this long silence. He died last week. I went, what? He died last week. He had a heart attack here at the office. Funeral was like Monday. I'm like, okay. So I called Mrs. Smith.
Girl.
Will Mr. Smith be at closing? Oh, yes. What?
Did you not know that?
Okay, great. We'll see you there. So at closing, I talked to it's closed with title companies in Florida. So I went to the
Texas too. Yeah.
And so I called the title agent and said, make sure you get ID on this guy. This is weird. And I explained what happened. They went, oh, okay, no problem. So day of the closing came, in walks Mr. and Mrs. Smith. It popped out of the table. First thing the title company does is, all right, now I'll need your driver's licenses so we can, so we can get the ID out of the way. And she rips hers out, pops it on the table, and he goes pat down. And he's like, must have left my wallet in the car. She's like, okay, we'll wait. So he goes outside. The title company's like next to our office, so we all run over to the window to see these. He goes out, he sits in the car. And he sits in the car for about 3 or 4 minutes. He's not doing anything. He's obviously not looking for anything. He's just sitting there with this look on his face like, now what? So about 5 minutes later, he gets out of the car, walks in. Man, what an idiot! I left my wallet at home. Well, that's the problem, sir, because we're not going to be able to close without ID because we have information that you died on Monday. And the wife is sitting there the entire time, and she's getting more nervous, and she's like, I told you this wasn't going to work.
What a scam.
Oh, no.
Real quick.
It was her brother. She had her brother she talked her brother into coming to sign her husband's name because she wanted this condo, and she was furious at her husband for dying before they could move into this condo because this is where all her friends live. I mean, it's like,
brother, how
But why
shallow.
did she need him to?
because she didn't have any money on her own.
Because, she couldn't.
The mortgage was in his and hers name. He had all the money as far as income.
And maybe he
But
didn't
then
leave
she
her the
married-
money.
Well, and that's just it. If she had come to us and
Maybe it was a
said,
job.
if she had come to us and said, I'm sorry, Mr. Smith died, it's going to be about 6 weeks before I can get the insurance squared away, but everything's and
Just
we was
did that
great,
in the first
fine.
place.
We'll just postpone the closing. But no,
Yeah.
she's trying to commit mortgage fraud
Right.
because she wanted to live next to her
She
neighbor.
wasn't in her right
Oh
mind.
my God.
Yeah. Breathing.
She wasn't in her right mind at the time.
Yeah, no, she was definitely not in a good place. But anyway, because those are the fun things that happen in mortgages too.
Did you live in Florida? Were you living here and
I was
just licensed in both?
No, well, actually, when I lived in Florida, I wasn't a licensed agent. I just did mortgages.
Okay.
So, and it was actually before mortgage lenders had to be licensed. Back in the dark ages. So anyway, anything and everything that happened after party closing.
Golly, that's a crazy story.
I'll tell you about the one that shot his wife a little bit later. But
Wait, what? At the closet? Oh, God.
no, the day of. Anyway, we'll tell that off the record. So,
Off the record.
so hopefully the lenders got their act together. You know, everybody's approved, everybody's happy, and then your next thing that most lenders are on top of it. Every once in a while, you'll get one that just went out late like 4, forgot that there's a deadline on this, and they have to get their closing disclosure, their CD, not to be confused with a certificate of deposit, but they have to get their CD 3 days prior to closing. It's federal law. They can't. There are very few exceptions with this.
The buyer does.
The buyer has to get their CD.
What about the seller? They've done it to me the day of, the morning of.
You can't close. You get the CD. I mean, you mean talking about that's the settlement statement.
So, okay, I'm sorry, yes.
Yeah, but if
that's
you're
what I'm
representing the
talking
buyer has to get their CD 3 days prior to closing.
Okay.
So when you're doing your little calendar, make sure there's a little red star on that date that if they haven't gotten their CD by then, you're on the phone with that one. Even if it doesn't get out until 4:57, that's fine. As long as it gets out that day, you're good. But and he has to sign it that day. They send it to him electronically. They have to sign it. It goes back. Because if he doesn't, your closing's delayed. And if you're at the end of the month, then it rolls over the next month, then all the numbers change. So much fun. So during this whole process, you are constantly on the phone. You're calling lenders every week. So sweet. Hi, just checking to see if you need anything. You're calling inspectors. Hi. Inspectors coming out on Tuesday. You got your CBS code good. You're talking to the sellers. We have all the repairs going, right? We have the receipts for repairs. Okay, we've got those receipts prior to closing. Okay, great. You're on the phone constantly, emails constantly, just following up. Hi, just following up, just making sure. It's just it's keeping your finger on the pulse of the project, make sure it's still alive. Most lenders don't really like the phone calls from the agents, so make them quick. We're not talking about life stories, what you did for the weekend. It's respect their time. Hi, I'm just checking to see if you need anything from my buyer or my seller, whatever. No, we're good. Okay, great. Click. Moving on. If they know that you're not going to waste their time, they're more likely to take your phone call. If they think they're going to be getting into a 20-minute conversation, they're like, don't talk to her. And we're kind of the same way, aren't we? Our time is valuable, so we have to respect other people's time in the same way. So, loan underwritten, loan funded. I mean, it could be rejected at this point. It's very unusual that a loan gets rejected at this point because at this point they should have, at some point along the way, realized they were running into a problem. Sometimes they find out that they need more funds than they expected at closing. Mama's going to write them a check, as a gift. Well, guess what? They've got to verify the source of the funds for Mama. Did Mama go out and borrow the funds? Did she rack up her credit card to give them the extra, $2,000, or did she just take it out of her money market account? They have to verify that. So, all these things can take time at the end. And then, so once you've got everything, it all comes together, and everybody's got a meeting at 2 o'clock at the closing agent's office. Do go over with your buyers and sellers, because sometimes sellers have to bring money to closing. Wire fraud. I mean, I know it's been discussed previously. I really want to ram this home. Wire fraud is rampant. People have, if all these hackers would work for good instead of for evil, the world is a much better place, but here we are. So you have people who hack real estate agents' emails. They hack emails from attorneys as well. All the emails from attorneys now are encrypted, when they're talking about this stuff. And your buyer will get a email going, just a reminder, here's your wire transfer information, cleverly, scheduled like a few days before closing. You tell them, even when you get to the bank, call the closing company and verify the number. Because they may be working off of an email that had fake information. All that money's going to a nice little bank in the Cayman Islands that is getting transferred to Ukraine or that's getting transferred to Russia or wherever it's being transferred to. And it usually happens like that. That the possibility of recovering money once it's been wired out of the country is almost nothing. I mean, I've heard of it happening when they realized it like within 10 minutes. You know, give it 2 hours, it's gone. I mean, they've already, it's transferred and it's transferred and it's transferred, it's gone. The worst I've heard is $240,000. I've heard, you know, but you know, $240,000. You know, you've closed on a house, you're buying a new house, you're wiring the money for this house, and it's gone. It's gone. It's your fault because you gave them the wiring instructions. That's heartbreaking for everybody. But it, you know, especially for your buyer who just lost $250,000. I mean, usually it's smaller amounts, but it's, yeah, because most people are getting financing and stuff, but it's, you know, it can be, I mean, to some people, you know, $5,000 is as much as $250,000. I mean, it's, you know, it's maybe all the money in the world, and it's gone. So please, you know, let your clients know right before closing, you know, that couple weeks before closing, only talk to the closing attorney or the processor at that office. And at that point, they have a relationship with them because they've been asking them for information. They've been going back and forth with them a couple of times, you know, getting this stuff. So they should know who their processor is, you know, they should know, you know, the office. And they should have the number for the office on their phone. And I tell them sometimes, you know, put the office number on your speed dial because that's the number you want to call when you go to the bank to verify the, I mean, it sounds like, oh my gosh, you know, they've gotten this number 4 times. Fine, you're getting it a 5th time.
So as the agent in the contract to close process, you're basically a traffic cop and you're driving all the time.
Correct.
You're driving all the
You
time.
just
You got it.
don't leave anything to chance.
Good point. Yeah, you're a traffic cop. It's 20 after 11, so let's take a little break.
Yeah.
If we can be back by 11:30, that'd be great.
Ms. Black, are there no other alternatives to getting the money to the, where it needs to go? There are no other alternatives. This is the only way.
Checks aren't really doable because a lot of checks can be forged and they make up checks on bad, you know, accounts and stuff. Cash, nobody's going to touch cash because of the. If you can't bring $15,000 of cash because you have to, when they deposit it, they have to be able to document it with, you know, the federal government and anything over $10,000. I had one person come into the office here with an Adidas bag
See.
of $50,000 for the bag.
Right.
And they start, I mean, they were at the front, you know, they're at the desk and they start putting these, you know, whoa. So they're back in the bag. And they said, well, I just brought my earnest money. And it was like, take that back to your bank and get a cashier's check. Oh, I don't have a bank. You know, they were, I think, Asian, Chinese. Anyway, they didn't have a bank. They kept their money under their bed. God, I know what that bed is. Okay, so so we said we can't accept it. You know, we can't. I mean, we had no facilities for taking, you know, cash, especially not that much cash. So we sent them over to Fidelity and said, you all deal with it. So then the guy at Fidelity, I think, spent like 3 hours trying to figure out how to accept this money and put it in our escrow account, you know, so that it was, you know, legal. And I think they ended up splitting it up into like 6 different deposits of like $9,000 each or something. I don't know. It was bizarre, but yeah, just walking around with an Adidas bag full of $50,000 in cash.
My ex-husband is a franchise attorney, and we'd have franchisees come in, and they'd pay $300,000 or $400,000 or $500,000 in cash. They were Asian.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, they've got the money, that's for sure. They save, live frugally, you know?
It's but yeah, that was when they started putting the, you know, piles of cash on the reception desk. It was like, no.
There's got to be another way.
Take that away.
Wow.
There's got to be another way.
Almost like you don't want to not go, that good for closing then.
You thought the class started at 11 today?
It didn't?
No. I was thinking the same thing because that's what it said on the schedule.
Right.
Right.
Well, how did you know different?
She told me.
When did it change?
Yesterday, though.
Yeah, she told me yesterday.
It changed yesterday? Or-
No, it was on the last calendar she gave us.
What,
It was
what,
on
what
there.
changed?
The time. I thought
It
it was
was
11
different
to
on
2
another
today, and they're
calendar?
saying
It
no.
was.
Oh, I
It
thought
was.
you were talking. Because I thought you looked online.
I
saw
did
it.
look online, and that's where I
Okay,
verified.
because the two calendars that I have show 11.
Oh yeah, it does.
Thank you.
Yeah, you are right.
So I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna go by what you said.
Yeah,
and
online,
everybody's not here. I'm
like
giving
the-
the stink eye. But it worked
And the
out.
thing online, it said that it was a 10.
Yeah.
So.
I didn't look
Yeah, but the two calendars
yeah, I
did
went by
say.
the calendar.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm the only one that made that mistake?
No,
Oh.
Tasha did too.
Good.
So, how long have people had their licenses here?
Since 2017?
Okay, so,
November?
December.
2016.
November?
November?
December.
Okay.
Make it special. So they all come at once. And I can't stop going.
Oh, I guess we don't have lunch for this summer.
Yes. So y'all attention to the city. I have to keep me active because I'm gonna go to law all So I'm down here with the Airbnb listing. So.
Yeah, Tony, I was wondering where you were when I didn't.
Yeah, I'm never this tardy. Ever. Wow. I was like, wow, everybody's in place and it's only like 5 minutes late. Wow.
Tell me about all those drinks that you just consume so much liquid. What is that?
You do, that's great.
Wheatgrass, spirulina, Memtropic for my brain, maca for hormones, collagen, hair, skin, and nails.
All in one drink?
Yeah,
Let me see
they're
that
all
drink.
powders. Powders.
Seriously? Oh, it's powder? Oh, do you have a
From
sample of the powder?
Living Traditionally is where I get them.
Uh-huh.
Very high quality.
Living
Traditionally.
traditionally.
Uh-huh.
What did you say that company was, or that product?
Living Traditionally.
Okay. It's just something you just,
A lot of powders, and I've got organic. I help my husband put his cancer into remission, and I do a lot of holistic stuff.
Wow.
And a lot of it was just, smoothies and everything organic, and ozone in the veins, and hydrogen peroxide, 35% food grade,
how long have you been using these things?
25 years.
Wow.
You
But I
send
have
me
some bad habits too, let me tell you.
I would like to get some information on that. Just send me an email.
Oh,
All the stuff.
like this morning, I just got a new juicer, so this morning I made a whole bunch of fresh celery with an organic Granny Smith apple with organic blueberries in it.
I'm
Gives me
very-
a lot of,
I'm very health conscious, so that's why I
Power.
want to get some information on that.
okay. Okay. Also, the quality of your water is very important.
I'm sitting up here swilling all night.
The first Diet Coke you ever had in your life is still in your stomach.
Do
The
what?
first one you ever had in your life is still in your stomach. I haven't had a Coke in like 30 years.
That's hard.
I stopped drinking
Lemon
Coke,
water
though.
is very good.
I really did.
Lemon,
Yeah, I know.
what goes into your body, it alkalizes your body.
I drink lemon water too. But I think all the things I've seen you consume,
But every once
it's
in a while,
gotta
I'll
be
go,
something.
I shouldn't drink anymore. I'll go
Yeah,
everybody in the
I
room.
really would like to find out more about it.
But invariably,
You got my
I'll be in
email.
the restaurant and I'll order it just out of habit.
I mean, Stacy,
Yeah,
can you just text it to me? 'Cause I haven't even looked at that
I'll try to
yet.
like
Okay.
district tea. So.
okay, Ralph, R-A-L-P-H.
Wait, send, text me,
I'll text you.
and I'll just
Don't
save
think
your
about it.
information.
Okay.
770
Very old habits. so I'm-
286 0117, Ralph Freeman, right?
770-206.
Yeah, the one
Uh,
like we walking back.
286 0117.
Okay. To get to the parts.
So they're supposed to have the restaurant opened across the way on February 11th.
Is there one that has like all that stuff? or you
They're
have to
supposed
buy
to,
all
the
that?
restaurant that they're working on across the
Yeah.
lobby, that's supposed to be open in February
So if
11th.
you had to pick one that you couldn't live without.
Reishi mushroom is very good for cancer.
What are they gonna do with the guy upstairs?
Immune system.
He's
Is
the
my mouth like
cook-
green?
Okay.
He's the chef. in there.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll be
Yeah.
providing more than one meal a day. Yeah, they'll have
Everything,
a
yeah.
bar,
Turmeric,
choices.
ginger, wheatgrass,
Salad bars,
yeah.
So you
sandwiches.
just buy them separately and then mix them.
It's good quality.
We'll give Rochelle and she'll tell us in a minute, and then we'll hit it. But one of the things, they pull out these quotes that are supposed to inspire here. So basically, everything I've been hammering at you for the last hour. Throughout the entire contract to close process, follow up regularly with the closing, the title company, the escrow company, and the loan officer to make sure everything is progressing on schedule. How many of, okay, let me twist it around. How many of you have a calendar of some sort that you all keep track of stuff in? What does your calendar look like?
Mine is on Google and it told me this class today started from 11 to 2. Because
Right,
I usually run the sheet. Thank you, Taco. And so it failed me because obviously it started at 10.
Yeah.
As soon as she gave us the calendar, I put all the dates in my Google calendar.
Okay.
So at what point did we go from 11 to 10?
At some point it changed and I don't know.
I missed it.
Me too,
sorry.
Tasha.
That's what I have in my calendar.
Tracy, what's your calendar look like?
Same, it's on my phone.
Anybody else?
It's on my computer.
Computer? Okay.
It's
I
on,
use both.
it's on everything on mine.
I use print.
It's everywhere.
Well,
I
I mean,
use print and Google.
iPad, phone, count, or computer. I mean, I use Google Calendar. So.
Yeah. You're, especially in real estate, this calendar is going to rule your life. And the minute you get a contract and you start coming up with all those deadlines, all of those deadlines need to be entered immediately. It's amazing how easy it is to forget that the earnest money was due 2 days after binding agreement. Or the proof of funds was due 5 days after, because those first few days you're all in a flurry because you're getting the inspection ready and everything's going every which way, and it's like 11 o'clock and oh hell, today was earnest money, it's like, and it was like because they're not going to, the buyer's not going to remember. I mean they're focused on something else. They just signed a piece of paper. They don't have any idea what they just signed. They may have read it. If they're a really, really, really high C. Most of them,
So
are
does everybody
trust-
understand high C? Besides me?
High C?
Yeah.
disc profiles.
Disc
What?
profiles. So she just said if they're really, really, really high C, and I was like, I'm not sure that everybody understands that.
High C.
But what she just said.
That's a drink, isn't it?
That's why.
Yes, it is. You're right, but that's not.
That's
what
why I
I'm
said
talking about. Some of you may have taken actually a disc test when you joined us. There was like you took a test online
No?
That was, you may not have, I mean, sometimes, you know, it's usually newer agents, just kind of, we kind of get a sense of, you know, how they work. Because this profile just kind of gives you, it's a personality inventory, it's not really, you know, it doesn't tell you if you're gonna be a good agent or a bad agent, it just tells you what kind of agent you're gonna be. Because, I mean, you may have agents who are very, very focused on numbers, and, you know, they really don't really like people that much, but, you know, they're really good at numbers, and they're, you know, wizards at, you know, doing deals. Got some people who are very, you know, empathetic with people and everything, but, you know, they can't keep up with their dog, much less a piece of paper. So there's room for everybody in there. You know, try to keep up with paper though. There's room for, you know, there's room for both kinds, but, you know, it helps, you know, it helps the office to know where you're coming from as far as your approach to it, so they can help you. I mean, if you're a high C, you're somebody who is very, very, very focused on details. You know, you love filing, you love calendars, you love things in their place. Your desk is perfect.
It's not me.
A high D is someone very get it done, don't bother me with details. You know, just, you know, you have a lot of clients, CEOs tend to be high Ds. Probably people who, you know, run companies tend to be high Ds because they're big picture people. But they're held trying to get them to sign, you know, by a deadline, because the deadlines are not. That's not their. That's not part of the focus. S's, people with high S's tend to be.
High S's?
Well, they tend to be very high security conscious. They, you know, so they tend to control their environment a little bit more. Even more, you know, it's not as much as maybe the high C's, but they tend to value security in a transaction. So you might have an assistant who's like a high C, high S. You know, they're like ideal because they're like really involved in the process. You know,
Process oriented.
very process oriented. I mean, your high I's, you know, they were Miss Congeniality at the pageant.
Are we able to see our assessment anywhere?
Yeah, ask Tracy. Can you know, pull it for you?
Okay.
I'd like to take that test.
Yeah, you can take it on Tony Robbins' site for free.
Yeah, Tony Roberts has it. You can go on his site. It's kind of it's a slightly shorter version.
Tony Roberts, you said?
Tony Roberts.
Robbins.
Robbins, that's what I thought, okay.
Thank you.
I didn't know Tony Roberts.
But if you meet with Terry, the productivity coach here, that's like one of the first things that she asked you to do.
I was supposed to meet her today, but she's called us.
Who asked you to do it?
Terry Cummings.
She called us.
Productivity coach. Yeah. It helps her see how you approach things, so she can help coach you. You know, over, you know, like if details aren't your thing, you know, then maybe that's something, a system to be able to track those successfully might be something. If you are a high C but you're not really very outgoing, you know, trying to find ways to help you interact with people more successfully. And it's just kind of everybody's got a strength and a weakness that they play to. And that strength and weakness, you know, can, you know, all the time to learn how to do is harness it. And, you know, make it your own. So when you're going through a process, okay, you had a great term for it, traffic cop. So let's name all the people involved in this transaction. Number one. Number one's actually you. But yes, buyer. Okay, number two. Seller. Number three.
The other agent.
So a lender. Okay.
Listing agent.
The listing agent. The other agent on the other side. Yes. Who else?
Attorney.
Closing attorney.
Okay. Who else?
Appraiser.
Appraiser. Inspector. Who else?
Underwriter.
Underwriter. Probably financing, but yeah, she's different. You'll probably never see her. But she's definitely a player in the game. Who else?
Was there termite people here? Are they part of the inspection?
They can be. One thing you may have forgotten about is other family members.
That's what I was going to say, nosy neighbors and friends and
yes.
Who have input.
Yes. You know, little Kathy's buying her first house. Daddy's helping her. Daddy hasn't bought a house in 20 years. Thank you, Daddy. Just write the check, Daddy. Go away. But everybody's got an opinion, they come, I've seen whole families come to inspections and just kind of, so traffic cop, who's on first? Who's doing what to who's responsible for what? Do they know what their deadline is? Do they care what their deadline is? I mean, some banks, you give them this contract and it's like, okay, great. It's like, we have a financing deadline of like, whatever. It's like, couldn't care less.
And you have a license to do that, and nobody will object if you get involved.
No, because your contract says you are their representative.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah, you should be doing all negotiations and everything else for your client.
I mean, if somebody goes, okay, I can't talk to you. Well, something. I've got this piece of paper that says I can't. So.
Is that called the DISC test?
DISC.
Yeah.
Because I just text Terry and she said she's going to send it to me.
Okay.
Yeah, Terry had administered one to me. I think she has you take the test if you are her client or coaching with her.
I am coaching with her.
Okay.
But anybody in the office can take one.
Yeah, because I did mine when I first
Yeah,
initially
go to
passed
Allison,
it.
just say, hey, I need to take I'd like to take a disc, and she'll set you up in the.
But Terry will know how to communicate with you, because of what's on your disc.
DISC, like disc brakes.
There's actually a class on it. You can do a training on it, and it's just mirroring the person across from you as far as sales goes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if somebody's coming at you, you go back at them. If somebody's asking for lots of facts and figures, you give them lots of facts and figures. If somebody's trying to be your friend, just sit there and be their friend and just mirror what's going on across the table.
I was helping someone the other day put together a listing presentation, and she was wanting to put in all pretty pictures and stuff like that. And I said, who's your client? Financial services guy. Okay,
You don't
forget
care
the
about
pretty pictures. You
Numbers.
throw him every stat Chuck Carter produces. You want a book full of stats, that he can, really, get his hands into, because that's going to make him happy.
Absolutely. They
Because,
thrive on that.
knowing that, this is like, wow, this girl's got all these numbers, all these people who bring me pictures of houses I don't even want to look at, it's just, but, she's bringing me numbers, I'm a happy person. It really, once you kind of get the whole concept of the disc, I mean, there's other personality inventories, but it does really help you tailor your approach to them. Like I said, mirroring them. I mean, if they're, if you go in their house and they never sit down, guess what? You're not going to sit down either. You're going to be at the kitchen counter. You're going to be walking around. You're never going to pull up to the kitchen table and sit down, because they're going to be up and around and they're going to be bouncing around. So guess what? You're going to be bouncing around.
Absolutely.
That's the way I am.
No, if somebody crosses their arms, and put your hands in your pockets and kind of mirror what they're doing. You don't want to, ape them, but
You don't want to mirror.
but I mean, if they do that, maybe you want to cross your legs or something, and that way you just kind of watch and do it casually. But
if they're leaning forward, you're not leaning back.
Yeah.
Because that looks like you're trying to avoid them, and you're kind of, you're
So
resting your hands.
yeah,
This is what you do in a regular interview situation, though. They always tell you to mirror.
Of course.
To a certain extent.
And that's-
But then
that's
a good
what this is.
but a good interviewer is also giving you to see how you do it.
I've done a lot of training in it, and it helps a lot to know who you're speaking with on the other side.
So we've gotten all this stuff going to the closing, and then we get to the closing. Sometimes we have a class that actually we do over at Gannick, who's our legal partners on this. And they actually puts everybody around a table, and she goes through exactly what happens in a closing, because your first closing, you don't even know where to sit. You walk in, there's this long table, and you're like, oh, okay, I'm gonna sit here. No, dear, you sit down here, because this is where the box sits. You're like, oh, okay. You crawl over to the other table. Usually, buyers are gonna be on the right, sellers are gonna be on the left. Just because the attorney has a paper flow, the sellers are getting different papers than the buyer is, and so usually he's keeping the sellers, signing one thing, he's having the buyer, and the buyers are signing something completely different. You don't really have much of a job at closing, but if you're not there, something will go sideways. There'll be somebody will have read the settlement statement for the first time, and they'll go, "What's this fee? I didn't agree to this," or they'll be, hopefully you've had, the you've had the settlement statement a day or two in advance, you've gone over it, penny by penny, and, you agree with everything, you've gone over it with your client. Any problems, client, we in agreement? I don't understand this. Okay, well, then you explain it, and so when they get to closing, happy people, we like happy people at closing. But buyers on the left, buyers on the right, sellers on the left, you sit on the other side of the buyers and sellers, so you're actually like 3 or 4 people down from the attorney. The attorney might ask you occasionally to witness something, because he's notarizing it, so he can't witness it, but that's basically, you're making small talk with the other agent, the buyer, the seller, if it's been a friendly transaction, they're talking about like, oh, where's, who's your security system with, and oh, the neighbors next door, they've got the babysitter, hopefully that's the way it's going. However, sometimes closings aren't happy. Everybody's gotten mad at everybody. You've got a seller who is, ticked off because they feel like they're selling for less than it was worth. They've got a buyer who feels like the seller was, unreasonable the entire way, put roadblocks up every time they, made a request, it can get combative. And in that case, sometimes they shouldn't meet at the closing table. And that's okay. I mean, you just call the agent, you just call the attorney ahead of time and say, we're going to need to close in 2 separate conference rooms, because you just want to keep the seller and the buyer away from each other. For example, I had a closing that was 3 days prior to closing. The wife decides she wants to get a stucco inspector, another stucco inspector out there. Fine, inspect away. You're still closing. So he comes out there, and she comes back and she says, I don't want to buy this house. Okay, but you're on the hook for my commission. You're on the hook for your, commission, and you're on the hook for, all these fees, blah, 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 blah. Why? Because you had an inspection period, and you're outside of that inspection period. And if you don't go to closing, you're in breach of contract. And they can sue for specific performance.
She closed, of course, yes.
She wasn't happy about it, so guess what? Buyer one name, seller the other. But that's okay. Everybody signed. Everybody, we waited until they walked out, and we walked out the other door, and that was very, very happy. But it was ridiculous, grown people acting like that. But that's how you manage it. I mean, they do act like that. When money's on the table, people act weird. It's they're different. It's very personal. It's very they place a lot of importance on winning versus if I have to win and you have to lose. There's no such thing as a win-win. One of the things I get asked a lot about are systems and keeping up with all this flow of information. Again, we started kind of talking about calendars before we got started again. If you don't have a calendar, and if you are not writing these deadlines in your calendar, you are dead in the water. You might be able to keep up with it with 1 transaction. You might keep up with 2 transactions. If you have 3 transactions going at one time, there is no way you're going to keep up with this. You can't. There are too many details, too many players. How many people did we figure out that there were in a transaction? A minimum of what? 9 times 3. 27 people. I mean, you're going to be lucky if you remember who they are when they call you. But that's your job, is to remember who and why and when and how much and where and everything else. But Google Calendar is your first step. Actually, some people also recommend a written calendar, because sometimes your phone goes off the blink. You lose your phone, you leave your phone behind. If you leave your phone behind, what happens?
Yeah, I'm an old-fashioned kind of calendar girl.
But you can usually pick it up on your computer, but you don't necessarily carry your computer under your arm everywhere you go. But sometimes just the act of writing it down helps reinforce it. So don't dismiss a written calendar, but certainly use the Google Calendar. Absolutely use it for alerts. If you put a deadline in there, appraisal deadline is February 4th. On February 1st, I'm getting an alert that says appraisal deadline, for Evans on, Smithstone Road. Oh, okay, better check on that. Hey, we heard anything about the appraisal yet? Hey, Mr. Wonder, you heard anything about the appraisal yet? Oh, you would.
And that's Google Calendar that you use?
Google Calendar. Yeah, there are lots of other calendars out there. Some people use their Apple Calendar. Just whatever can give you.
And I think Command has it in it too.
Command has a task list that you can use.
You
Kelly?
can use, and it'll.
The Command will feed to Kelly.
Okay.
Kelly's kind of your window in the Command.
I wonder if Command syncs up to Google Calendar.
Yes, it can. It'll sync up to your Gmail. I think it syncs to the calendar too if you ask it to.
Probably does.
But it has its own. In Command and opportunities, you have your dates in there, and they can show up as tasks.
And will Command notify you? Do you know?
That I don't know.
Okay, I'm sure it will. I mean, that's what it's made to do, right?
It would seem to be obvious.
Yeah.
If you look on page, I think it's 18, there's a list of things in here. Now keep in mind that these lists in here may not necessarily be Georgia lists. They've written these for an entire country, and they're really, really happy about using escrow companies. And everybody's kind of going, what's an escrow company? And it's like, it's a very California thing. But, and they're saying, they're taking the money to the escrow company. Well, no, we don't do it that way here in Georgia. The realtor usually holds the money. Every once in a while, you'll find somebody that wants the attorney to hold the money. That's okay. Most attorneys don't like to hold the money. They'll do it, especially if they're their clients, but they're not really happy about it because they don't want to be in a position where they're having to try to figure out who to disperse it to if it goes sideways. So, they'd rather not, but every once in a while, you'll get somebody that. Now, if I get a contract and the other agent is mom and pop, realty is us, .com out of, Tacula. I might ask to hold, that may be one of my counters is that we hold the earnest money. And some of these really small companies, they don't even have an escrow account. They'll say we can't hold it, you'll have to hold it. So just kind of be aware of who you're working with. Coldwell Banker, of course, Henry Norman, any of your larger firms, they're all going to have escrow accounts and they're all going to take care of that. But just the real small mom and pops that sell about 3 houses a year, probably don't have an escrow account that they can hold the money in. So, and you want, ideally, you kind of want control of that money in case the deal does go sideways. I mean, you don't necessarily want somebody just. A seller coming, buyer coming and saying, the contract fell through, I want money back. Oh, okay, here's your money back. Well, the deal would stop because you didn't show up for closing, so maybe you don't get your money back. Maybe the seller keeps the money. But you need somebody that has a little bit of a fiduciary, skin in the game. Go to page 20. There's a section in there that says being a problem solver. So let's kind of go over a few of these, just kind of, because I think I've thrown out a few things that make things go sideways, but maybe these will kind of prompt some other ones. Under inspection and repairs. So how things go wrong. Surprise findings. Hey, guess what? Your HVAC doesn't work. How do you handle that?
You might need to get someone out here to do an estimate. Is that, or if we're on the buyer side,
well, if you're on the seller side, hopefully your HVAC doesn't work.
Well, I just got it fixed last week. Why is there a problem?
Great. Can we see the service records? Can we get the service?
Let me call my husband and get it to you. So you're right. If they've had it fixed, I need to see a service record to show it's been inspected and preventative maintenance.
Which is interesting, but it doesn't help me get everything working.
Right.
If it doesn't turn on.
But it allows me to see then where my problem is, so we can be on the same page.
But basically, would you just put that in the amendment or concern?
Yeah, it would be, yeah, I would let the seller know, hey, look, you know, we had a bit, yeah, and the seller's gonna, you know, the selling agent's gonna be on you too. I mean, they're gonna say, did you get your inspection? Anything you need to know about, you know? Because they're nervous, you know, they don't know what they're gonna find. You know, they think, you know, they may have even had a pre-inspection done. And they may think everything's, you know, all hunky-dory, like I said, that's inspectors, that's how they live, is to find things that are wrong. So,
If the seller gets a pre-inspection though, aren't they obligated to divulge
Disclose?
that information,
Sure.
disclose?
they're
Yeah.
obligated to.
Pardon?
Yeah, they're obligated to. Does that mean they do?
Yeah. Well, if they tell me about it, then they're really obligated.
If they tell you, yeah.
Yeah.
If they tell you that you have an obligation to disclose it. But, you know, they could have gotten a pre-inspection, you know, they just may be telling you about the rafters, you know, that are, you know, have been sistered like 3 times, you know. They may not be telling you about, oh, the sub pump only works intermittently. Or, you know, they may not think that's terribly important, you know, it's like, you know.
Right.
But, you know, that's why you have inspections. So, report is complex or confusing. We kind of addressed that a little bit, didn't we? When we said, you know, make sure ahead of time that they know what they're getting and point out that most reports have a key areas. Otherwise, you know, they're saying they're making a list of everything that needs to be fixed, and the list is like 6 pages long.
Someone once, I don't know where I got this from, but I thought it was a good idea when you tell the buyer that they're getting this inspection report, tell them it's really more like a manual that you're getting on the house that you're buying.
Oh, that's good.
You know, so it's not just like a punch list of like, these are all the things wrong, but this is gonna give you, you know, all the information you need to own this home.
That's very positive. I like that.
Isn't it?
Yeah. I like that. Make a note. Timetable, costs and who pays. That's part of the whole negotiation process, right? Who's going to pay for a new water heater?
The sellers.
Negotiable.
Or whoever it's negotiated to pay for it.
Yeah.
100%.
I mean, some of these costs, I mean, he may have agreed to pay $10,000 in closing costs. Well, if he's got to pay, you know, $5,000 in repairs that he hadn't planned to, he might want to renegotiate that closing cost too. Everything's up for negotiation. And sometimes it comes out of your commission. I mean, if somebody is stuck, I mean, it's ridiculous how it gets this way sometimes, but sometimes you're arguing over $200. And both sides are just like, no. They can pay it. No, you can pay it. You know, you can pay it. No, I'm not closing it unless they pay it. Yeah. And that's when you feel like a preschool teacher. And at that point, it might just smooth everything over if you say, don't worry, I'll pay it. It's $200 out of your commission, but if you get to closing, everybody's happy. And your buyer or your seller remembers that you are willing to help make this happen for them.
Skin in the game.
Yeah, you have to be really careful with that too.
You do. I mean, I wouldn't give up.
Don't throw that out until it really.
Yeah, I mean, not
have to.
unless they're, you know, completely at loggerheads and there's like nothing's moving. I mean, if you've got somebody who's, and there's all sorts of reasons. You know, don't give away your commission, but sometimes it's an investment in the. You know, you have to kind of look at the whole picture. You know, do I want to spend $300 to get $12,000? It's a pretty good ROI, right?
Yeah.
Do I'm not going to spend $8,000 to get $9,000? Probably not.
So no.
But in that case, you know, walk away and find another house tomorrow. But
Well, you know, that, my opinion, thousands is better than nothing, right?
you got it.
So, I mean, why wouldn't you?
A little bit of something versus 100% of
Absolutely,
nothing. Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, you're going to kill the deal, or you're going to make $1,000. Well, let's make $1,000, move on, and call it a day.
Now,
I
can
mean,
I-
And
can I hear
you may
why
salvage
said
a
be
client,
careful?
and they may say, "Wow, this lady was unbelievable. You got to use her." I mean, so you may get a referral from it.
Right.
But sometimes you may not have room because you've already agreed to do it at
Yep.
2% instead of 3%.
Yep.
So you know, say like, guys, by the time I finish paying my office, you know, I have nothing. I can't.
Yeah, I can tell you, like, in a situation where I was working with another agent. She was awesome, and it was a short sale. And my buyer was very difficult. And when it came down to the end, we're trying to negotiate things. He was like, well, if you want this deal to happen, you need to cut your commission.
The buyer said that?
The buyer says that. You'll get that. You'll get that. And
You're making all this money. You can
You're making all this
check
money. If
off
you
all
really
of
want
that.
this deal to happen, you need to cough up some money on this, or you can pay for the home warranty, or whatever. The problem is, once you concede to something,
I've bought a lot of home warranties.
then it's like that nibble thing she was talking about yesterday. They're going to ask you for something else, and well, can you do this too? So. Yeah.
Good point.
Just don't go down the slippery slope.
Don't let that be your first. Don't let that be your first go-to. It's your last go-to.
Yeah, and then they could use you as a referral, referring you to other people.
And tell them about
Yes,
how
yeah, I'm a commission.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yes. See, long-term thinking. Love it. Like I said, but it's last resort, not first resort. Go there. I've bought a lot of home warranties after inspections kind of went sideways, because the buyer is nervous. This is the first time home buyer, and that's their closing gift. I thought, let me buy you a home warranty. That way you will, because it may not have made it through you may not even put it in the contract because you're in a multiple offer situation. It may have been.
No, and most of this money is you're not coming out of pocket on. It happens at the closing table. Is that
Right.
accurate?
It's all happening. It's all coming out of the commission.
It's not like you're writing checks for all this.
Right. It's all coming out.
Yes.
So I've bought several homeowners warranties because it gives the buyer peace of mind. Do I spend $500 and get $15,000? Heck yeah, no problem. I mean, and are they happy? Oh my God, they're so happy. I mean, they bought us a home warranty. That's amazing.
You can also ask the agent on the other
Doesn't
side of
cover
the deal
anything.
to work with you and split it. Let's get this deal done. Let's each contribute something to get this.
But sometimes the listing agent, they may not be able to do it because they may have, they may be taking this at a reduced, yes. Yes, absolutely. But, don't be surprised if the other agent isn't able to.
Photographer, signs, they got a lot of.
Well, no, they may
expenses.
they may be doing two transactions with this person. They're selling their house and they're buying another house. So they had said, I'll do your sale for 2% instead of 3%, or I'll do it for 1.5%. So they may not have a whole lot to work with on the sale side. So it's just certainly worth exploring, but carefully. I wouldn't expect it. It would be a nice bonus if it happens. I've had buyer's agents that flat out said, well, if you want to reduce your commission, that's your problem. I'm not reducing mine. Okay. Moving forward, okay, we talked about appraisals. I think we pretty much covered all that. Won't support price, won't support the loan, doesn't match the CMA. Everybody understands why it has to come to value as far as the bank is concerned, right?
As far as the what's concerned?
The bank.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because sometimes that detail kind of flies over. Loan approval and funding, application delays. If they've already done a pre-approval of somebody, hopefully they're ahead of the game on that. But contract used to have a clause in there that they had to apply within a certain number of days. That clause isn't in there anymore. It's, time is of the essence at this point. You gotta be on your buyer. I mean, especially if they're they travel a lot, or if they're young or whatever. I mean, you need to talk. You need to put your application in because banks need time. Especially large banks. The bigger the bank, the longer it takes. Come here. Yes.
Just a suggestion, I know for me, I used to do loans. The biggest thing I did was have my client have a folder, and they kept everything that they were supposed to submit to me. Mm-hmm. Now, when the realtor was on the same page with me, it helped things go very, very smooth. Mm-hmm. So as a realtor, I would say make sure your client has a folder with their bank statements in it, their pay stubs, whatever they need, right. So that sometimes the lender will ask for it again.
Absolutely.
You know, so just make sure they have it because you want to save them from being frustrated and you want to be on the same page with them. And it really helps if you set them up in the beginning, even if you give them a folder and you say, this is going to be your loan processing folder.
That's a great idea.
And it just helps.
Just keep
make
keep
things
it on one
smooth for
place. You
them.
don't have to keep looking for it over
Yeah.
and over again. One of the things that with the loans, when I call the loan officer, they're telling me that we're trying to get their W-2s. We haven't gotten the W-2s yet. Then you're all over them like Mama Bear. Like they've asked for your W-2s. Sometimes you get a buyer who's like thinking, well, if I don't get my loan, I don't have to go through with this, sale. Ha ha. So I'm just not going to cooperate, and they're going to just turn me down, and that way I can get out of the sale and I can go buy the house that I really like down the street. Yeah, but if they have not complied with all requests from the lender, then they are not in compliance. And guess what? Sorry. Seller gets to keep your earnest money because you operated in bad faith. So, they haven't turned in their W-2s, they haven't turned in, their car loan information and everything. You're on the phone. You're saying, when are you going to get them their W-2s? No. Did you get them? When are you going to get them? Oh, I sent them out there. Send them in again. Send me a copy of it. And I will call the loan officer tomorrow and confirm that it was received. I mean, it really emphasizes that, no, we're not kidding. This has to happen. People seem to think that, loans can, they just make a decision like that and you can close the next day. It's a process. Lender failure to fund. That honestly doesn't happen very often. I mean, unless you've just got a really funky lender. There's an interesting question on Facebook the other day. I don't know if are y'all on the Ross Group Facebook page?
Yes.
One girl was asking about, actually she's an agent in this office, she asked about, she had a client who's Muslim, and apparently one of the tenants has said they cannot pay interest because that's considered a breach of the religious tenants.
Really?
Paying interest it's considered, I think it's called riba, which is paying interest is considered to be not allowed.
It's like in Christianity, it's usury, so it's like if someone lends
they took
you
it-
money and
well,
charges
Islam
you
took-
interest, that's considered evil, so people
Right,
won't
well,
loan.
Islam took it to the next step and said, you cannot charge interest. And so, a lot of banks in Iran, for example, have a hard time. People always put those loans kind of like at the back of the line because they know that they're not going to get any, they can't be penalized for it because if you come after them for the interest, then you're breaking Sharia law. So,
Wow.
bye-bye. So this is an observant Muslim who is trying to, conform to the demands of the state. Do you have a bank that doesn't charge interest? Everybody's kind of like, no.
Wish we did.
But there are banks. What they do, there's a workaround. What happens is that the bank actually buys the property and then sells it back to this person at the rate plus whatever the interest payment would be, and therefore they're technically not charging them interest. So,
Wow,
so
that's
there's that actually it's U.S. law. They can do that. But they just have to disclose it certain ways. But that's actually. She said, how can you have a loan with no interest? It's like, well, it's a Murahaba lending, so it was, that was something that was kind of, so alternate lender, but so there are ways. But I thought that was an interesting one. Buyer doesn't have the full down payment. Get to closing and they're short. Now what? Mom?
Well, wouldn't you have known that? Because they had to wire the funds before.
Yeah, that's
You would have
one.
known it. It
Uh-huh.
doesn't happen as often now as it did before TRID. Before TRID, sometimes you didn't get the settlement statement until you were sitting at the settlement table.
Right.
And people brought their checkbooks, or they sent a check, if they brought a cashier's check with them to closing, and they had their own personal check, make up any difference or whatever. But now it's actually, everybody kind of groused about it when it first came out, but I think everybody's actually pretty happy with the fact that you actually have your numbers in hand 3 days prior to closing. And so there aren't really that many surprises when you get to the closing table, unless you just have somebody who's just been completely and totally oblivious to the whole thing, which happens. Sale of the buyer's home is a contingency. Home hasn't sold, now what?
What do you use?
I want to buy your house, but I have to sell my house first. So now I've gotten through the whole process, and my house hasn't sold. What do we do?
Buyer can't buy if it's contingent on the sale of their house.
That's right. So if you were a seller, what would you have done? In this case, to protect your buyer, to protect your seller.
Would you have to do an option or something?
Most agents would be very aggressive about taking a backup offer because their job is to sell a house. And if you are the buyer's agent, you're kind of all over. You may be asking for extensions of deadlines. You may be under contract, but it's not until like 2 weeks afterwards. And then you're saying, dear Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, will you please extend our closing date 2 weeks? We're all ready. That's why they don't. And then we'll probably go along with it. If they don't have a better backup offer in their pocket, or if it was a hard house to sell, it was on the market for a while, and they're figuring, okay, well, rather wait 2 weeks and start the whole process all over again. It'd be 2 months out. So it kind of depends. But when you've got a house being sold as backup, a lot of sellers won't accept it if you don't have at least a contract on the house. And if you're an agent, that's one thing you'll be looking for. Have you listed the house? If the house isn't even listed, then you as an agent are looking at the house when you're trying to make an informed judgment about how fast will the house sell. Well, gee, Mr. Buyer, houses in your neighborhood are average on the market are 57 days, and you're supposed to be closing in 40 days on this one. So how's that going to work? So you may not accept that clause. You may not accept that contract. But if they're under contract and they've been through due diligence, that's a pretty good, I'm pretty happy with that. I thought I'd go with that. They might run into some appraisal problems, but appraisal problems can usually get worked out. I have very few deals fall apart over an appraisal.
Is there a kick out in Georgia for the backup offer?
Backup offer.
First guideline. Sorry.
When you write a backup offer, there's a deadline. They're saying, okay, I am in a backup position until January 31st.
That's not what I meant.
Okay,
It's okay, so the first buyer has to sell his house. It's contingent on the sale of his home.
Right.
Get a backup offer in. Mm-hmm. In North Carolina, if you get that backup offer in, you go to the first buyer and say you have 24 hours or 48 hours to either move forward with the contract or get out.
Mm-hmm. There are kick-out clauses which can be initiated or not.
Okay.
If on the sale of buyer's previous residence, if they have signed that kick-out clause, then they can come back to them and say you've got 24, 48, 72 hours, whatever, to remove all contingencies. Not to sell your house, but just to simply say, I am going through with this deal whether my house sells or not. And some people can do that. They've got money in the bank, they'll just pay cash and then they'll just refinance it later. Other people have to sell the house. And they'll ask, and the seller will say, I want that contingency clause in there. I want to be able to, move forward if you can't. That's a negotiation point.
So that would be a contingency clause that goes in?
It's part of the exhibit of backup the exhibit is the sale of buyer's current resident or whatever that, sale of buyer's residence or something like that. It has information, the address of the house, what stage they are in the selling process at this point, and then it has the expected sale date. The ones that say to be determined, red flag. But then it has the kick-out clause, which can be, if it's initialed, it can be enforced, and if it wasn't initialed, then, everybody's fine waiting.
So what does that kick-out clause say?
Kick-out clause says that if I get a better offer, I'm gonna come to you and say,
Okay. Yeah.
you've got 24 hours to remove the contingency. Not, make a decision. At that point, the buyer may be taking a calculated risk. The buyer may have a house under contract. They may not have been through due diligence. Seller comes back and goes, "Hey, got their offer." Does he feel good about the due diligence? I mean, this is when you start playing poker. It's you're weighing your odds about whether or not this house is going to sell. If I remove that contingency, then that means that I don't have to wait for the house to sell to buy this house. Can I do that? Can I financially do that? Is it prudent for me to do that? There's a lot of, it's going to be different for everybody. Some people are just getting a mortgage because they don't want to use their cash assets. Some people will say, pick it up, let's pay cash.
These decisions are being made at the closing table?
No. These are decisions that are being made probably earlier in the whole contract process.
I know you used to work here and you know a lot about what goes on. But the Rawls Group has, 3 or 4 different Facebook? I've seen 4. One for buyers and sellers.
There's the Rawls Group Facebook page where everybody just kind of talks about different issues. There's one for buyers and sellers where you can announce upcoming homes that are coming on the market, and also buyer needs. There's another one I think for open houses where people kind of put up open houses. They also ask for help with open houses and stuff.
Then it says showing request and referral. What is that? Like if you're looking for somebody, like a contractor or pool guy or?
Most people just go to the Rawls Group page on that and just say, hey, anybody recommend a good drywall guy or what?
Which Rawls page?
Just say Rawls Group. The Rawls Group.
Oh, the Rawls Group, okay. And then technology.
Those are Keller Williams pages, the Keller Williams technology pages.
Oh, okay.
Those are actually really useful if you're trying to work your way through some of the intricacies of command. If I'm like trying to figure out why isn't this working, I'll check the Facebook page because somebody will say, hey, designs aren't working today. They're working, they'll come up to again tomorrow. Okay, well then I won't waste my time with designs. So there's a lot of communication going on that page as far as technology goes.
Okay, thank you.
So other contingencies, so backup offers, short sale, relocation estate approvals. Relocation, don't know how familiar you are with this whole process, but relocation is interesting because there's a whole industry that what they do is they package moving services, lending services, and brokerage services under a relocation packages, and companies use them to transfer people from one place to another. And you think, well, that's nice, get all together one time. Well, yeah, but if they're referring Ralph as their preferred agent in Atlanta, Ralph is probably going to be paying this relocation company 35 to 40% of their commission for that privilege. So a lot of people think, oh, I don't like relocation companies. Just keep in mind that you're going to be giving up about 35 to 40% of your commission. So after you've done that, and if you have a cap, it's another 30%, so you're walking away with 25, 30%, maybe. So relocation companies can be great if you're an active agent who has a lot of, and has an in with a relocation company, with a company here that has a lot of people moving in and out. That can be great. It can be a great source of income if you're willing to give that up. But you think you may get the volume over an occasional deal, but just be careful because if you have a client comes to you and they're the seller, they're having to sell their house because they're being relocated, and they're like, okay, great, so you're talking through all this stuff. They go, oh, I forgot to tell you, I've got a relocation company. You just kind of go, you know, and they can tell the relocation company that they want to use you. I mean, almost every relocation company will allow them to choose an agent. If they don't have a preference, they'll suggest to, you know, several agents that they can interview you. But you can usually, you know, say, well, no, you know, this is my agent. This is who I want to use. And the agent just has to sign an agreement that they're going to give away, you know, 40% of their commission. So yeah, all these wonderful services that, you know, they're providing, it's coming out of you. You're paying for it. You're paying for the moving discount. You're paying for the financing, you know, contribution to the closing costs and everything. So just kind of keep that in mind. You know, that may make a difference on whether or not you're willing to accept the listing. You know, it may be a business decision not to.
And all the other paperwork that you have to do if it's a list on the listing
Yeah,
site.
because with the reload company, the seller will fill out the disclosure, and you'll have that disclosure, but then when it comes time to sell, then the seller becomes the relocation company. And then the relocation company does another set of disclosures. They're basically destructive and said, we have no idea, we don't live there. So you've got basically 2 sets of disclosure for the entire transaction. One from the seller and one from the company, because the company has to kind of, you know, CYA because they don't know anything about the house, basically. You usually are tied to one, to a specific closing attorney, because the relocation company would have had the title company do the title work on it ahead of time, so that make sure there aren't any liens or anything like that on the property. So you're generally, you probably can't use your preferred lender, you know, or preferred attorney on that. You're gonna have to use their attorney.
But one thing in my experience I found out, because we almost bought a house from a relocation company, is that because they didn't know what was wrong with the house, they had an inspector come in, they did a pre-inspection, and then they fixed everything.
That was nice.
So,
Most relocation companies don't do that. That's, you know, they might work with the seller ahead of time and say, you know, these major things have to be cured before you will represent you. But most of the time, I mean, you'll be working with the relocation company in order to, because they're going to be signing off on a lot of it, because the way the property is transferred to their responsibility. But just be aware, you know, if someone says reload company, just, you know, the red flags, just, you know, there's another layer that you're going to have to be dealing with on that. Short sales, you don't see too many of those anymore. But basically, it means that the that the seller is underwater on their home, and doesn't have enough money to come. Their mortgage is more than the house is worth. So if they sell, then either they have to come up with the money to make up the difference, or else the bank has to work out some sort of concession. And you think a bank would be in a hurry to do that? Not necessarily. I mean, they're not. Short sales move very, very slowly. Any deadline, if you think you're going to close 30 days, you are dreaming. I mean, you're talking about a minimum of 90 days. Because it has to, not only does it have to go through underwriting, it has to go through asset management. And asset management has to decide, do they want to do this, or do they want to hold on to the property? Keep in mind that banks have to keep a liquid reserve, and they have to keep a asset reserve, a certain amount, you know, based upon their holdings in the Federal Reserve. So they manipulate their asset management in order to maintain that reserve. So it may not be in there. I mean, you think, you know, certainly they want to get rid of the, you know, property that's in the farm. No, they may not. You know, it may be one of their assets that they're holding against their reserve.
And they're not going to call me and say, you know what, this is what we decided.
Oh, yeah. I don't think I had told them.
Okay.
So short sales, you know, proceed with caution, very warily, because a short sale never runs smoothly. It's always, you're dealing with a bank, and you're dealing with unresponsive banks.
Yeah, I always tell buyers, I haven't done short sales in a long time, but back in the day, there were a lot of them in Charlotte. And if you have a buyer that has to actually move to the city in a certain period of time and they want to buy a short sale because they think they're getting a really good deal, you have no control over that timeline at all.
It can be 6 or 8 months.
At all.
It can be
Yeah.
6 and 8, 6
And
or
they
8
get
months.
mad, and so just don't even go there.
Right, because I'm homeless and I don't have anywhere to live.
Well, you're not gonna have anywhere to live for the next 6 weeks either, 6 months either, so you're not any about worse off than you are.
Wow.
It's bad.
Short sales, run really fast. Other agent, bad advice, communication, inattention to detail, poor vendor selection. Guys, we all have to play in the same sandbox. And the agent who is having a really bad day and is impossible to work with this week may be your best friend next year on another deal. Just be nice. Like Patrick Swayze says in Roadhouse, be nice. If they're screwing up the deal, be nice.
Well said.
If they want to fight, be nice. But these, it's a small town, and you'll run the same agents over and over again. And keep in mind that they're evaluating you the same way that you're evaluating them. So, return the phone calls, acknowledge the emails. If they're having trouble with getting, if they can't get out there to open the house, for inspection, help. I can go let them in. Whatever. I mean, just we're all grown-ups here. We're all trying to meet at the table. We're all trying to do something. And sometimes you feel like you're doing most of the work because the other agent is not responding. They're giving bad advice to their client. They're not doing things. They're not keeping track of things as promised. You're calling and saying, "Hey, we need a copy of the pest control agreement so we can get it transferred over." Oh, sure, I'll get that to you. With pest control. Oh, did I not send that? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, my assistant must not have sent that. Let me get it for you. Well, 2 weeks later, you're still asking for pest control, but you can't say what's with the pest control? Okay, it's like
What are you, an idiot?
be nice, because the agent that's screwing up on this one, is maybe saving your bacon on the next one. You just never know, and you're going to see them at Realtor Association meetings. You may be seeing them in your own office. They may be if they're another Keller Williams agent. And if you are really having an issue with an agent, go to your broker. That's what brokers are for. Brokers are your troubleshooters. Go to Lynn and say, I've got a problem. And Lynn will pick up the phone. She'll call the other broker, and 9 times out of 10, problem is fixed because the other broker will call her agent in and they'll go, "So tell me why you haven't responded to the request for blah 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 in the last 3 weeks." Oh, my kid was sick, whatever. Basically, remember, any of these deals, you're working them as the agent for Keller Williams. Keller Williams is ultimately responsible for the deal. So if for some reason you aren't providing the service that is promised or expected, Keller Williams can say, I'm going to transfer you to a different agent. Oh. Because when you make this listening agreement, you're making the listening agreement with Keller Williams. You're not making the listening agreement with Janet Dickinson or Claude Devine or Kristen Nurse. I mean, you're making it with Keller Williams as their representative. And they can move you off as being from the representative to move to somebody else. And we've had clients that come and say, "I do not want to work with this agent anymore. I can't stand him. I want to cancel my agreement." Well, how about we just give you a different agent? Okay. But in that case, something egregious has happened. And it could be just a misunderstanding. It could be a personality conflict. It could just be, a total failure on the agent's part to perform. So, that's why don't get into it with the agent. Just go straight to your broker and just say, "Here's my problem." And Lynn will take care of it pretty quickly, 9 times out of 10. Once in a while, lawyers get involved, but but most of the time it's just something that can be settled with a few quiet words, because the other agent doesn't know what's going on. I mean, your brokers are reviewing all these things in command and everything, but they don't know the details of all 300 deals this month. They can't. I mean, heck, we can barely keep up with 3. You think they can keep up with 300? So, by the time it gets to them, there's a problem. So, that's how things are kind of managed, if things really go sideways. Poor vendor selection. Some people ask me, they say, do you give your buyers a list of inspectors, or do you tell them what inspector to use, or how do you do that? And my response is, you always give them a choice. And you always make them aware that they don't have to deal with just those people. If they want to use Uncle Joe, that's fine. I tell them I have a group of inspectors that I have worked with in the past that I trust their results. A lot of people are afraid that you're getting a kickback from these people, and they will not use them because they think that they're not going to get good information because we're in cahoots. Don't tell them about that. They won't buy the house. Not happening. But there's that perception out there sometimes. So I give them 3. I say, here are the 3 that here's 3 that I've worked with that I like and trust. To do a good job. You're free to use anybody you like. And then they can choose. And at that point, you're not really saying, here, you need to use, Joe Thomas over here, he's the best inspector in the world. Well, if Joe Thomas misses the fact that the roof was leaking in the next rainstorm, they're putting buckets out, A, they're not really happy with Joe Thomas, and they're really not happy with you for making you use him. So, you need to give options. Always give options. At least 2 options. I mean, unless it's like a really specialized, slate roof historic house type thing. I think you should always, you should have a list of vendors in your back pocket. We have a list of approved vendors here in the office. That's a good place to start. But as you're working, deals and everything, you run into different people that you get along with, you admire the way they work, you like their results, and by all means, recommend them.
You keep all this stuff in a binder so you can keep referring to it? How do you organize yourself?
I have canned emails. I use a lot of canned emails. In G Suite, I think they're called templates. But I have all my inspectors on a canned email. Hi, here inspectors. It's all the same information. At least I'm not finding out. Who did I send that last email to? Trying to figure out all their contact information. It's all in a canned email. Pull it up, address it, send it. Done. Same thing for lenders, especially for pre-approvals and stuff. I have 4 lenders that I recommend out. 2 guys, 2 women, 2 women, 2 men. Because different people deal with smaller lender, a larger lender. Just kind of a nice mix. But say for a pre-approval or a pre-qual, contact any of them. They'll be happy to help you. What should I tell them? I said, you can if you want. I'm not getting I'd say I'm not getting a kickback, so it doesn't matter. But they will know if they're so, do work on a vendor list. Just have at least lenders and have at least inspectors, under your belt. You can start adding, floor guys and roof guys and stuff, as you go. But at least have lenders and inspectors under your belt just to be able to whip out when needed. Deadlines, I think we've hit that like a dead horse. Anybody have any questions about deadlines? Important dates, I think we've hit that hard. Deadlines. One of the things people ask me, how do I organize? How do I keep all this stuff organized? Because there's a lot of stuff flying back and forth. One of the things that keep them organized is your is command. because you have to submit all of your paperwork through Command now for it to be reviewed by our broker in charge. So do you all know how to get into opportunities in Command? Have you all seen that yet? Okay, I'm just going to show you real quick.
Yeah, let's go with
I'm not going to give you a command lesson right now. It's way beyond my scope here. But I'm just going to kind of show you where to expect to find some of this stuff.
Yes. Don't necessarily know what I'm looking at, but I've been in there.
Okay, please. This is your home page of Command. Up here, you've got your contacts. So the first thing you're going to be doing is if you start working with somebody, you're just going to put them as a contact because you're going to have to be able to refer to them when you're writing a contract. Right now, you cannot write a contract inside of Command because we've been waiting for DocuSign to get us synced up with the Georgia Association of Realtors. Georgia has a policy where if a vendor is using like dotloop, they have an agreement that every time an agent accesses a GAR form, the Georgia Association of Realtors form, that their NERDS number is checked against the database as being able to do that because you cannot access a GAR form unless you're a member of the National Association of Realtors. And if you're a current member of the National Association of Realtors, then you have a NERDS number, NRDS, National Real Estate Data System. Now, that NERDS number, you may have forgotten to re-up for your board membership, in which case you're dead in the water because now you can't get GAR forms. But the system has to be able to access that database and okay it very quickly. DocuSign wasn't really set up for that in Georgia back in the fall when all this started. So that's why we're using dotloop separately right now, and then we're downloading documents and putting them into Command. So all that will change in about 2 or 3 weeks because DocuSign apparently is ready to go live. And we'll actually be able to write the contracts inside of Command instead of having to go outside of it to do it, which is huge. And there'll be lots of classes about that, but just FYI, kind of put it in the back of your mind to get it. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, all these other things on the side here, smart plans, these are things that, like, if you have a new prospect, you can put them on a smart plan so they get like regular drips of information from you. Referrals, if you have this is a whole referral network that you can do all over the country for people. I'll be your agent in Atlanta, you're my agent in Des Moines, Iowa, whatever. But so, if you're, instead of going to a database and going, instead of going to Facebook and going, hey, y'all know a good agent in Baltimore, you can actually look at stats of KW agents in Baltimore, and see which ones have closed, did they close one deal last year, did they close 40? Where are they located? Are they located in the area that they're going to be looking at, or do they specialize in coastal property, whatever. You can find out a lot about an agent, through the referral network. So I kind of recommend kind of going there. If you've got, for example, if you've got friends and family like in Asheville, well, a couple agents in Asheville that you can refer people to. Do it ahead of time and say, oh yeah, I'm getting ready for the house. Oh, okay, great agent here. Let me send you their name. Referral income, hello, 10%. Referrals, opportunities. People go, what the heck is an opportunity? An opportunity is an opportunity to make money with listings, with buyers, and down here with leases. You're probably not going to be doing too many leases. To be honest, not a lot of money in leases, especially if you're representing a tenant, because at least on the residential side, the commercial is a whole different ball of wax. But for a tenant, if you're helping a tenant looking for a house, the most you're probably going to get on this whole deal is $300 or $400. It's a good way to start. If you don't have anybody in your database, a year from now, you're going to be following up with them for a whole year. So you might as well, put it in your pipeline, and then maybe a year from now, when he's finished, tired of paying rent, then you can sell the house. Done. Not a bad prospect. Is short term, short term, not terribly lucrative unless you're doing, 20 a week, in which case you don't have time to do anything. So the one thing I'm going to kind of tell you all about here is that when you all start these, everybody tends to go to listings, even if you've got a buyer. Listings are listings that you own. Buyers are people that are buying other people's listings. Occasionally, they might be the same person, but so when you've got a listing, they're going to come in here. So this may be somebody that they're thinking about listing their house. You'll put their information in here. Then as they go on, you'll go on a listing appointment. So that's when you're getting ready to kind of show off your stuff. Hopefully, you'll get a listing. It becomes active, in which case it's showing and being shown. Then you'll get offers. You get offers in the active stage because they're not contracts yet. When they become contracts, they come under contract. Now and then from contract, hopefully, it becomes closed. In each of these categories, you have different subcategories. For example, under contract, you have due diligence, inspections, appraisals, financing. You have this little block that can be moved from block to block to block to track this person throughout the whole process.
But you have to create your contact first, right?
You have to create the contact first, because it's all tied to a person. So this is a way of tracking it. Now, and it also tells you down here, see where it says volume and stuff like this? Average time 6.8. It's also keeping track of you. It's telling you an idea, like you as an agent, if you can get somebody into the active phase, there's a 90% chance that you're going to close them. And they're giving you those odds, and they're giving it to you in monetary terms. So you can kind of keep an idea of your goals as you're going through the process, throughout the year. And it's actually telling you, like, if you get somebody to the appointment phase, example here, with all the appointments that you've done, if you schedule one, you have a 10% chance of closing it. If you kept the appointment and gone through it, your odds are usually about 30%. These numbers change as you go through. I mean, if you do 10 listing appointments and you only get 2 listings, then your numbers are going to change like 20%. That kind of gives you an overall goal for the year. If you have a goal of just round number 100,000 on your GCI, that kind of tells you, what your chances are of getting to that goal. Do I need more listings? What do I need to do to adjust that?
What does GCI mean?
Gross commission income.
Thank you.
So let's see. Okay, here's one that's active. So right now it's showing, we can move them, we got the contractor under negotiations. We have a part of it here where they're under contract, where they're under a listing agreement, but they may just be doing staging right now. So that's the staging. So, but if you've got a house in staging, you've got a 50% chance that it's probably gonna close. So, they've done these things over the course, and these are kind of very general numbers, but they'll become customized to you as you build up a body of work within the system.
And we can learn all this command stuff on YouTube, right?
YouTube, we also have classes. Pete English, he sits next to Stacy, is our our command group. He teaches classes on it. They have classes. Keep an eye out. They have classes throughout the month on introduction to command, different aspects about command. You can design flyers. You have a Facebook interface with command. You can actually do Facebook campaigns and do it, and you can create them within command and everything. They can access the pictures that you load. It's still, when command started, they used to tell us, remember, it's toddlers, we're teaching it. And there's a lot of artificial intelligence built into this. Hopefully by the time this thing is by the time the Consumer Act's launched, which will be very soon now, it's designed so that if you've got a client, you might, right now in FMLS, you might send them, houses each day to look at, through the drip campaign. In Command, when they get these different listings, Command is going to notice that, look, Mrs. Smith is stopping at the white kitchens longer than she's stopping at the dark kitchens. Let's give her some more white kitchens. They're looking, they're looking for finished basements. Well, let's not show them the unfinished basements. Let's show them finished basements. That kind of artificial intelligence really is meant to create a very, very personal searching experience for clients. I mean, you're not having to look at 15 houses that don't have finished basements. You're not interested in that, but that's what's coming up in the, granted, it can tell you, I want a finished basement. So why are they spending all this time looking at the unfinished basement? Maybe they're willing to finish it. There's a saying, buyers are liars. What they tell you what they want and what they end up buying are usually about this far apart. Because they don't know what they want. What they want is HGTV. What they want is, something like their best friend or their cousin or something like that. Because until they actually get in there and they're actually putting the money on the table, their priorities will continually shift until they get to the point, and even after that. I mean, they may be calling you 3 years later and saying, I need a bigger house. Now I have 2 kids. I didn't have 2 kids before. So, things will change. I don't have any other contracts. There's a section in here for documents, and I'm trying to get to that, but I don't think I have any contracts in here, so I can't show you what the documents are. If you don't like the spread with the blocks and everything, you can do it as a list, so you just read down it up here for you with you. Anyway, this is where your contracts are going to go when you get one. You get to send to the office for you to Lynn. She checks everything on a contract. She'll check to make sure you check the lead-based paint disclosure. She'll make sure that your lead-based paint disclosure is in compliance. Guess what the penalty is for a lead-based paint agreement that is wrong? You're gonna love this.
So then, please.
A lead-based paint agreement that's not filled out properly?
$1,000.
10,000.
11,000.
11,000 per error.
What?
If the broker does not sign on that little thing that everybody forgets to sign, 11,000. This is if we're audited by this is if we're audited by HUD and they pull up these lead-based paint. It's $11,000 per error. So that's about $88,000 you can be in if you don't even have one. If you're supposed to have one. If you don't sign it, if they don't sign it, even the dates make a difference. The seller is providing this lead-based paint disclosure to the buyer. A buyer cannot sign a blank disclosure because what is he acknowledging? Nothing. I mean, the seller has to give it to them, and so the date for the seller to sign has to be on or before the date that the buyer signs. Otherwise, it's not a disclosure. So if they see that date wrong, buyer number 1, buyer number 2, that's 2. That's $22,000. Thank you. So if nothing else, get the lead-based paint right. And it's the one that everybody skims over the fastest, and it's the one that will trip you up the most. That's probably the one that we get the most errors on in a contract. Other errors on a contract might be one person in the party signs, the other person doesn't. Disclosures, that happens a lot in because if you might have a seller's property disclosure and you might have a community association disclosure that the seller has already provided. But when they send you the contract, there's probably also a financing disclosure in there too. But you might go back and forth on your counteroffer. And everybody gets excited about the counteroffer, they'll sign that, but they forget to go back and sign the disclosure for the financing. They have to go back Put the signature in there, pick it up. So, yeah, all that. These are all the things that they're looking for, because they want to make sure that our, contracts are compliant and can be enforced. Because if we say that we want proof of funds within 4 days, and they don't provide it, it's on the seller's agent to come back and say, where's your proof of funds? And if the buyer's agent doesn't do that, and it goes up beyond a certain number of days, guess what? They don't have to provide the proof of funds. Because the period for correcting that is gone. Now, that can come back and bite you if the contract goes into litigation for some reason. Well, why didn't you get proof of funds? If you have a paper trail but having asked for it, they didn't provide it, then it's the buyer's fault.
Right.
But otherwise, you're kind of out there in left field because you didn't ask for it. So, yes, the contract says it, but there is, some work to be done. We're talking about organization. Honestly, I have not had a paper file in 3 years. I keep all my files up to this point in Dotloop, and up after this is going to be during command. I can pull them up on my phone if I need them. I can email them. If I'm at the grocery store and someone needs it, I can just pull it up and send it out. I can store, things like I need to, like a inspection report, receipts, things like that. I throw them all in Dotloop. I mean, I just throw them all in there because that's an easy place for me to find it, and I know it's safe. This isn't going to get left behind an inspection. It's not going to get in the back of the car, stuck in a box because I'm moving stuff out of the car. It's not going to, it's not going to get left behind somewhere. However, a lot of people swear by paper files, and and if that works for them, great, do it. This one, for example, is a 6-part file. Please don't walk around with these manila folders with something scribbled on the side and paper's falling out. I mean, I went to a closing one time and I had my file and got to the closing table and opened it up and it was like, where's my check from the office? Where's my earnest money check? Oh shit. I can see her going through it. And walking out to the car, I was in a hurry, I was on the phone, checked all the file. So, you'll notice in this one, they're all corded up here. As far as, they're all kind of in here and they're not going anywhere. So, just FYI, things happen. This has information about the transaction. This had one sale, it fell through, and then got another sale, so right back to that. This information carries all the information about the listing. It has tax records, it has some other information on it that we were using. This is a CD actually, a closing disclosure. This is only closing a couple of days, so we've already got that. But like I said, I'm a little anal. All these files had their tags so I can find them quickly instead of just flipping through it every time I need something. Then this one, we have the inspection. We didn't get a copy of the inspection on this one. This is the seller, so we don't really have an inspection on this. This is our marketing and CMA when we got the listing. So we have all the CMA stuff. So if there was a question about, and then also I can go back and discuss it with the appraiser if I need to. This would have information regarding financing or reload. Just have it all in this last one. And this one back here has the listing agreement. It also has like previous contracts that may have been terminated, just to hand it.
So listing agreement's not on the front?
No.
Okay.
No, because the whole idea is to get contracts, so your contract is going to be on the front.
I mean on the left side?
This is the listing as it appears in FMLS.
Okay.
This is the contract. So, I mean, you can do it any way that makes sense to you.
Right.
I mean, this one is blue for sellers, green for buyers. So I can tell quickly. Does it make a difference? I don't know. But if you're a paper person, be a paper person. Embrace being a paper person, but you do it in an orderly way that you can access the information easily. Just don't shove it in a file and hope that you have to scramble through it. Do it in a way that's you can organize it and you can find information quickly. And then know if you're missing something. quickly. So that's one of the things we use. Okay, we've got 10 minutes. One of the things I do want to emphasize is that, okay, we've spent 3 hours talking about this whole process and all these people and all these things. A lot of questions I get are like, do you give closing gifts? We do. I mean, it's an appreciation. We try to tie it to the client because we want the client to feel appreciated. We want them to know that we appreciate, the opportunity of working with them. Sometimes if I had to pay for a homeowner's warranty, then, maybe not. Maybe it's just a bottle of wine or something like that. We do because it comes from a sense of appreciation and a sense of thankfulness. Other people consider it more of a straight business transaction where I am doing this, I'm getting paid, you're doing that, you're doing a house, we're even. That's fine. People ask me, and I tell them that we do closing gifts. You can be as elaborate as you want to on closing gifts. You can be as simple as you want. And sometimes you may wait and say, okay, wait for a week, and send them something for the house, just as a reminder. Whatever you do, a week after closing, pick up the phone and call them. How's it going? Right? Just how the move goes. For moves, we always send pizza on moving day because we've got the movers, they've got people moving in and running in and out. They're crazy, busy. We call them and say, hey, how many pizzas do you need? What kind of pizza would you like? And pizzas and water arrive at their doorstep. And it's just one thing less that they have to do that day.
What's a good gift and are you giving it at the closing
That's a
table?
really good idea.
Yeah, it is.
At closing, I'm saying, what kind of pizzas do you like? Because we're going to send you pizza, for me.
No, I'm saying like the gift, like the closing gift.
Yeah, there's some tactics on that. Cynthia Pierce had somebody call her a few years ago, and they said, hi, you may not remember us, but we were the sellers and you represented the buyer for our townhouse. And so she goes, oh, yeah, yeah, we want to use you as our agent. And it's like, and she goes, well, great, weren't you working with so-and-so? Yeah, but we really liked you at the closing.
Okay.
I mean, she brought a little basket in, so, don't gift the other party. The other agent will be really mad. Don't bring 2 bottles of wine. Here's one for the buyer and here's one for the seller. We so much appreciate it. The selling agent will kill you because she may have brought a closing gift and now she looks bad. Again, these are people that we're going to be working with in the same sandbox for a long time. Don't embarrass them. I try to give them the gift after closing. Maybe in the parking lot. I may bring it by later on. I try not to embarrass the other agent. Some agents get off on that. They like to be, lady bountiful, and they bring this huge basket, and your client is sitting there. But it's a delicate dance there. You just have to kind of judge it case by case. And sometimes, they may not be a closing gift because it was just a really quick thing. All you did was write the paperwork for the guy, and it was a business transaction moving forward. But this is your opportunity to create a lasting relationship with these folks. You want them to know you, like you, and do business with you. They know you because you've been working with them for months. They like you because the closing went smoothly, and they will recommend you because, oh my gosh, look at this basket. Some of them are just very practical gifts. We had one agent for a while who was giving a big bucket that had basic cleaning supplies. A roll of toilet paper, a roll of paper towels, 409, just a roll, just all these things, and then she put like a new broom in it, bow on it. Other people give personalized doormats. Other people give plaques. They can put established whatever. There's a zillion things you can do. If you Google it, you'll just absolutely go nuts trying to figure out what kind of price point you want to run on. Cynthia actually gets these market bags, these collapsible market bags. She has a signature color, and she'll go to Trader Joe's and she'll just fill it up with cheeses and chips and crackers and, stuff for like a first dinner, spaghetti sauce and noodles or whatever it is. So, and she'll put it on there, put a bottle of wine there, put a bow on it, and I love it, because it's just something to snack on while they're moving. So, and sometimes they get, like there's this one luxury agent out in Texas. I mean, he's dealing with properties that are like $8, $10, $15 million. He tries to find out what their interests are, and one of them, really loved going to Las Vegas. Got a private jet for them to go to Las Vegas for the weekend. Paid for their hotel.
Wow.
But, out of that $15 million commission, that private jet wasn't nothing. I mean, from Texas to Las Vegas. I mean, that was like us going up to DC or something. So it was, but huge splash. I mean, for the bang for the buck, that's kind of hard to beat. Other people have a theory that instead of giving a closing gift at the end, what you're doing is you're celebrating milestones along the way. So, for example, one of the things that we've done in the past is when the photographer's coming to take all the pictures and everything, or if there's like an open house, that's when the family gets free tickets to the movies. We pick up the tickets at Costco. They say, you have to be out all day for the open house. Go to the movies on us here. We give them and that's such a small thing, but it's like, they may not go. I mean, they may be doing something else, but at least they know that we know that we're acknowledging the inconvenience, we're acknowledging the effort that it took to get to to get the house ready for an open house. And then maybe another one to celebrate, maybe flowers to celebrate the end of due diligence, and then, during financing, hey, we got a cleared close, yay! So another, maybe a foot massage, because by that point you're going to need one. But something is personal. It's kind of tailored to that person, but it's just like celebrating milestones along the way rather than one big gift at the end, because it's a constant encouragement and a constant acknowledgement that you all are partners in this whole process. And if you're not keeping in touch with them after that, if you aren't treating these people like gold, if you're not getting in touch with them, how many times a year?
36.
Thank you. 36 times a year, either through newsletters or telephone calls or emails or whatever,
Top of mind.
then bad on you, because you have spent all this time and all of this money and all of this effort on a nice, warm lead who loves you, wants to do business with you, and wants to recommend you, and you're not nurturing that. And these are the people that are going to help you grow your business. And if you're not allowing them the opportunity to help you grow your business, bad on you. Any questions
Did
about?
she feel strongly about this?
I mean, these are the people that are the engine of your business. I mean, these are the people that are going to give you referrals. If you're not keeping up with them, I mean, somebody else is going to. You don't want to create orphans out of your clients. An orphan is someone that another agent comes along and goes, "Oh, hi. Oh, who's so? I don't know. I never heard from her after the closing." Don't be that agent. Don't be the agent they never heard from. A week after closing, hi, hi, I miss you. We're talking every day, and I haven't talked to you in a week. How's it going? Blah blah. And it's just, you're calling them, you're keeping notes. That's what these notes are for in command. Did Jody get into Wesleyan? Are they going to love it? Or what colleges are they looking at? Oh wow, they got to Tennessee. Great. You're going up there for a football game. You're part of their lives at that point. You're hopefully a friend.
So 3 times a month, huh? You don't think that's excessive?
No. Newsletter? After 5 or 6 years, you're starting to give them CMAs for their neighborhood because you're thinking about moving again.
Yeah, they say every 7 years is the average when people move.
It's dropping.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Any questions? Great. Y'all are closing experts now.
Yeah.
My office is back here in the corner back there, so anytime y'all have any questions about it, if you can't get hold of Stacy, if you can't get hold of, another agent or something, just pop in and just ask me. I've got an opinion on everything. So.
Well, let me ask you something. What kind of stats would you send to a listing appointment? stats, like
I
color
have days on market, you know, for that price point. Up to the $1.5 million listing, you know, he needs to know that the average days on market in section 132 is 234 days.
And then how do you get those stats?
The Chuck Cross stats that they go over every quarter. They just came out for the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and I looked at them, but they were kind of hard for me to understand.
Sit down, Stacy. She'll point out the ones, because there's some of them that you can actually personalize for the area that they're in.
Okay.
That, you know, so they can see exactly how long the days on market are. They can see what the different, you know, chances are of going to closing at certain prices and stuff like that. Really good. I mean, there's a lot of information there. You just have to figure out what's pertinent. And if you've got a high D or a high C
report, yeah.
I hear you keep mentioning high D, high S, high C. Is
Disc-
there
Yes.
a book associated with that?
Yes,
A
the
disc-
whole system.
The DISC system is a personality inventory that helps identify how you relate with other people and how your approach. I mean, you might be a very detail-oriented person. You may be a cheerleader sort that, you know, probably flunked, you know, math, but, you know, was, you know, miscongeniality. Or you might have a very high-driven person who just doesn't care about details. They just want to get the job done. If you have not seen this profile, if you haven't done one, check with Terry Cummings and ask her to have one sent to you. They're very interesting. I mean, there's a lot of interesting insights, because you can use that information not only for yourself, but also to analyze clients.
It's personality types and how people react to stuff.
Because if you've got somebody who is very detail oriented, you probably want to give them lots of numbers. They can have these figures.
And when I go through the training with Terry, will she give me the book? Will I be able to buy it
It's
from
not
her?
a book, actually. You take a test. It gives you,
And
it gives you your
I gotta
levels of
go- I gotta
different
run in here.
personality traits. And then after that, then she'll go over it with you and kind of give you some insight.
Thank you.
Test to show.
Great class, thank you.
Well, good luck on y'all's test.
Did you say the T word? Is it today?
No.
It's Monday. T word.
We're not ready.
Yeah.